Good morning. Good morning, all of you. Am I visible and audible? Great. Let some more people join in and then I'll begin. Manpreet, Tejaswini, Yasin, Roshan. Good morning. Nikita. Akshata. Saranya. Tabassum. Good morning. Anshika. Muthupandian. So I'm visible and audible. Komal. Okay. Great. Now, last session, I was uh, covering the Indus civilization or the Harappan civilization, and I finished a few topics, subtopics rather. So we discussed about culture, civilization, urban revolution. What is culture? What is civilization? What is urban revolution? Then we discuss other aspects of this civilization. I give you a general introduction. The Harappan civilization ranks amongst the four contemporary civilizations of the world. The oldest was the Mesopotamian civilization, which existed on the banks of the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers in Iraq. The second oldest was the Egyptian civilization on the banks of the river Nile. The third was the Indus civilization on the banks of the Indus and the Gaggar Hakra. And the fourth being the Chinese civilization. So it ranks amongst the four contemporary civilizations of the world. Though it is the third oldest, we saw that the Harappan civilization was the largest of the contemporary civilizations in terms of expanse, in terms of spread, right? So, and the oldest Harappan site is uh, Birhana in Haryana, and the largest Harappan site as of now is Rakhigarhi in Haryana again. So Rakhigarhi is the largest Harappan site. It has overtaken Mohenjo-daro in terms of size, and Birhana in Haryana is the oldest Harappan site as of now. Now, we also looked at the contemporary civilizations which existed during those days, various nomenclatures as to how this civilization came to be called or addressed. Indus Valley civilization initially, then it could be called as Harappan civilization, Indus civilization, proto-historic civilization, Bronze Age civilization. So known by various nomenclatures. We look at that and what is the right uh, way to address or name this civilization. Then we look at the origin of this civilization, some theories regarding the origin. Briefly, we looked at it. Then, of course, extent of this civilization spread over an area of 1.3 million square kilometers, with Manda in the north, in Jammu being the northernmost site, Daimabad in Maharashtra being the southernmost site, Alamgirpur in UP being the easternmost site, and Sukta Gendor on the in Pakistan on the Balochistan-Pakistan border, right? Pakistan-Iran border, Balochistan. So that is Sukta Gendor, the westernmost site. Then important sites will come to that, like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, Kalibangan. So important artifacts, uh, what have been found here, etc. We'll discuss that in some time. Then, of course, we looked at the characteristic features like town planning, polity, society, economy, and under economy, we looked at agriculture, small-scale industries, trade and commerce, weights and measures. Then I also discussed the religion, the religious practices of the Harappans. So I stopped there. Yeah. Good morning, all of you. Kashi, Anjali, Sejal, Nancy. So can I continue from where I left off? I feel if my memory serves me right, I finished with Harappan religion, and I need to continue from script onwards. Yeah, am I right, Anjali? Okay, thank you, Manpreet. Okay, I'll continue from there. Yeah, thank you, all of you. Thank you, Sandeep. So let me continue from there. Any doubts, please ask me later. We will clarify. I'll clarify that. So we looked at the religious practices of the Harappans, and then we'll come to the script and the language. Yeah. So let me continue from here. So we all know that the Harappans were literate people. They knew how to read and write, right? They knew how to read and write. They were literate. So what about the Harappan script? Just a minute. Yeah. So script of the Harappans. Now, even now, with all the computer knowledge we have, the technology we have, we are not able to decipher or decode the Harappan script. What is decipher? Decipher is decode or read the Harappan script. So let's have a look at the Harappan script first of all. On your screen, you can see the Harappan script. So this is the picture of the Harappan script. So initially, please understand, the Harappan script was pictographic, and later more and more alphabets came to be used. So initially pictographic, and later more and more alphabets came to be used, right? So we are not able to read this script. You can see here there are two horns here. There are three horns to this particular letter. Um, this letter looks slightly different from this letter. There's a swastik symbol also in the script of the Harappans, right? This seems to be a knife, right? This seems to be a mountain. So we don't know exactly what was the script of the Harappans. The Egyptian script has been deciphered, the Mesopotamian script has been deciphered, but we are not able to read the Harappan script as even now. And once the Harappan script is read, somebody is able to decipher or decode the Harappan script, we will come to know more about this civilization, right? We come to know more about this civilization. But from whatever script we have got, we can make certain intelligent guesses, or what we call conjectures. Now look here. Um, Now, what we notice is totally there are 400 to 600 signs in the Harappan script. Totally, there are 400 to 600 signs, but actually there are only 40 to 60. It looks like totally they had 400 to 600 signs in their script, but actually what exists is 40 to 60. These 40 to 60 signs are shown in various permutations and combinations. It is shown in various permutations and combinations, and therefore it looks like totally they had about 400 to 600, but actually they were only 40 to 60. So initially the Harappan script was pictographic. So it was pictographic, that is, they used to convey whatever they had to write through pictures. So birds, animals, humans sometimes have been depicted in their script. So initially it was pictographic. Later it became more and more alphabetical. So it became alphabetical in the later stages. And we have a number of scholars who have tried to read this script, decipher this script, S.R. Rao, Natwar Jha, etc., Rajaram. So these are the various historians, archaeologists who have tried to decipher the Harappan script, but even now it remains undeciphered. So initially pictographic, later it became alphabetical, right? And actually there are only 40 to 60 signs, and the rest are all their variants. So it looks as if there are totally 400 to 600, but actually there are only 40 to 60. Now, when we see about 7, 8 lines written on a piece of seal, on a seal, when we see certain lines, about 6, 7 lines or 7, 8 lines written, though we are not able to read the script, we can understand the direction of writing. Look here, the Harappans. So how do we write? This is a piece of paper, let's say. So we write from left to right, isn't it? We write from left to right. Now, how did the Harappans write when there are about 7, 8 lines? When we notice, they used to write from right to left. So first line, right to left. Then second line, left to right. Then third line, right to left. Fourth line, left to right. So alternately, right to left, then left to right. And this type of writing is the direction of writing. This type of direction of writing is called bostrophodon. Bostrophodon. So this has been called as bostrophodon, serpentine style of writing. Right to left in one line, and then alternately left to right, and then again right to left, and so on and so forth. So this is known as bostrophodon style of writing, right? So, Jagani, yeah, so expert scholars were able to read the Egyptian as well as the Mesopotamian script. But then, like just as James Prinsep was able to decipher the Ashokan Brahmi was deciphered by James Prinsep, an officer of the English East India Company. But even now, with all the technology we have, we are not able to decode the Harappan script, right? Ragini, Anupalli, good morning. So here we can see um, initially pictographic, as you can see on your screen, initially pictographic, and later it became more and more alphabetical. So we have birds, fish, variety of human forms being depicted. Number of signs in the Harappan script between 400 to 600. Actually, there are only 40 to 60. Now, what is the language spoken by the Harappans? We don't know. But what historians say is that it might have been a Proto-Dravidian language. So it could be a Proto-Dravidian language. So what is the meaning of what is the meaning of Proto-Dravidian language? Just a minute. Yeah. So what is the meaning of Proto-Dravidian language? That is, uh, Proto-Dravidian language. That is, the language spoken by the Harappans became at a later date one of the Dravidian languages. And this language called Bruhai. So this is a language spoken by one of the fisher community of Pakistan called Brauhais. So the Brauhais are supposed to be the direct descendants of the Harappans. So did you understand? The Brauhais, a fisher folk, a fisher community who live in Pakistan, fishermen, they are supposed to be the direct descendants of the Harappans. So, what is the language spoken by the Harappans? Must have been a Proto-Dravidian language. That is, that language spoken by the Harappans became at a later stage one of the Dravidian languages. Are you there with me? Clear? Yeah, we don't know, Zeba. I'll give you an example. Zeba asked me, if we don't know the script, then how we found out about Bostrophodon. Very interesting, Zeba. Now look here. Let me explain that part. Now, we know this is apple. See, APPLE. So we know, all of us know that these are the letters APPLE, apple. Right? Now, if it is written ulta, something like this, right? Now, we are not able to read this Harappan script, but we know the direction of writing. You understand? So we can read apple like this, and then ulta, it is written from right to left. So we can know the direction of writing, but we cannot read the script. We are not able to read the script, okay? Because certain letters are occurring frequently. So on the basis of the occurrence of letters and the direction in which they are occurring, historians were able to uh, tell that whenever there are about 7-8 lines continuously written on an inscription found in any of the Harappan civilization, the direction was Bostrophodon, writing right to left and left to right alternately. Zeba, I hope I have been able to answer your question and doubt. Clear, Zeba? Hello? Yeah? Okay. So let us now move to the next aspect of this topic. Pottery. Now, Harappan pottery. Now, you look here. First, have a look at the picture here on your screen. You can see various sizes and shapes in which the Harappans used to make their pots. So, these are the pictures of Harappan pots on your screen. Now, what was the technique used? Let's understand that. What was the technique used? First of all, Harappans used to make pots on the wheel. So, it was a wheel-made pottery. It was a wheel-made pottery. We looked at this, isn't it, last class? Mesolithic period, Mesolithic man began to make handmade pottery. During the Neolithic period, we have wheel-turned pottery. And man began to paint the pots during the Chalcolithic period. Right? Now, Harappans used to make pots on the wheel. Right? And once the pot was made on the wheel, they used to fire it in the kiln. So you have the kiln. So they will, like, you have a brick kiln like that. You have you have pots being put in the kiln, and then it was fired, or heat was given. So the pot becomes hard and strong. So once the pot has been roasted sort of or baked, it is removed from the kiln. And once it cools down, so imagine this is the pot, okay? Once this cools down, the Harappans used to give it a red color paint. So the entire paint pot was painted in red color. And once the red color dried up, uh, black was used to make the designs. So the background was red, and then black was used to make the designs on it. Therefore, Harappan pottery is called black on red ware. Black on red ware. Ware means pottery. W-A-R-E. So in short, BRW. In short, BRW. Black on red ware. Background is red, and on top of that red background, black designs were made. Now, please understand, Harappans used to use pots for utilitarian purpose. What is utilitarian? Utilitarian. That is for their daily usage, for practical use, not for aesthetics, not for beauty, not for fashion. So they used to use pots for utilitarian purposes on a daily basis. They used to use pots maybe for cooking, for storing food, right, and other things. So it was basically utilitarian in nature, and we have different types of pots. For example, the glazed pottery. The glazed pottery is the earliest example of its kind in the ancient world. The glazed pottery made by the Harappans. We have polychrome pottery. Polychrome pottery. We have incised pottery. Incised pottery. Perforated pottery. What is perforated pottery? Perforated. You see, imagine this is a pot on your screen, as you can see, and there's sort of a compartment here, and there are small holes on top of that. There are small holes like this. So perforated pottery was used to strain liquor, like we strain coffee and tea with a strainer, and then we drink coffee or tea. Similarly, such type of pots, perforated pots, were used to strain liquor. Strain liquor. So Harappans obviously used to consume some alcoholic drink. Um, we don't know what it is, but then they used to use pots to strain that liquor. So then, of course, they used to use knobbed pottery. Knobbed pottery. So pot shreds, Harappan pot pieces, shreds have been found in Bahrain as well as in Mesopotamia, in some of the Mesopotamian sites. So this is about Harappan pots, Harappan pottery. Okay, so you can see on your screen, black on red ware. Harappan pottery is called black on red ware, chiefly wheel made. And we both have plain and painted pottery. There could have been plain pottery where the Harappans have not painted those pots, or it could be painted, right? And different types of pottery, glazed pottery, polychrome, incised, perforated, knobbed, and utilitarian in character. On a daily basis, they used to use pots. Then let us go to the next aspect. You can see some more pictures here of terracotta models made of clay and then fired in the kiln. These might have been dolls which the Harappan children might be playing with, right? So these are some of the pictures. Now let us come to seals. Now what are seals? What are Harappan seals? What are Bhavna, incised pottery? Something has been written on it, incised, or something has been, some design concept has been made on it. That is called incised pottery. Yeah, zeba storing grains. Yes. Now let us come to what is the meaning of Harappan seals. Harappan seals. Now, what are seals? Now, um, seals, Harappan seals, are considered to be the greatest artistic creation of the Harappans. It is supposed to be the greatest artistic creation of the Harappans. About 2,000 have been found. More than 2,000 seals have been found, and Harappan seals have been found not only in the Harappan sites in India and Pakistan, they have also been found in Bahrain as well as in Mesopotamia, in many of the Mesopotamian cities. Now, uh, the most common, so what was a seal basically? It was a clay tablet. You have your PC, small PC tablet, okay, like that, you have a clay tablet. So it was basically a clay tablet. So Harappan seal was basically a clay tablet made of clay and then fired in the kiln, right, roasted in the kiln. And such seals were either square or rectangular in shape. They were either square or rectangular in shape. And we have found some seals in Mesopotamia, right? Harappan seals have been found in Mesopotamia. And on those seals, we have some rope markings, rope impressions. An impression of a rope has been found on the Harappan seals found in some of the Mesopotamian cities. Something like what I have drawn on your screen. A rope impression has been found, and each of these seals contain a distinct symbol. So some symbol is seen on these seals, a distinct symbol, a very different symbol. So each seal has its own symbol, and something has been written on it. Something has been written on it. We don't know what it is because the Harappan script remains undeciphered. Now, looking at this, historians believe that the main purpose of seal was to mark ownership of property. So probably it was used for commercial purposes. Okay, it was used for commercial purposes, seals, and the main purpose of seal was to mark ownership of property. Mark ownership of property. So every important citizen in the Harappan civilization might have had his own seal. So let me give you an example and try to elaborate it. Let's say as you all know, the Harappans had a artificial dockyard, isn't it, at Lothal? So imagine this is Lothal, right? This is Lothal, and a ship has come. A ship has come here, and this ship is going to go to Mesopotamia in a few days, 1 or 2 days. And somebody wants to send a bundle of cotton, a few bundles of cotton. So he packs it up, he ties it up with the rope, and then, so these are the bundles of cotton. Let's say this is the cotton bundle, and he has tied it up with rope like this, and then he has put a seal. He's attached a seal to it. You can see on your screen, he has attached a seal to it. Similarly, he has made other bundles like this, and this seal contains his distinct symbol. And this bundle of cotton is loaded onto the ship. Now, let's say the ship, when the ship reaches Mesopotamia, the consignee, that is the person who is supposed to receive the consignment, he will notice the seal and he recognizes a symbol on it, and then he will take it home. That is, it is meant for him. He'll understand looking at the symbol on that particular seal. So looking at this, because we have found such seals in Mesopotamian cities like Umma, Sus, Ur, Kish, Tel Asmar, some of the Mesopotamian sites. Historians believe that the main purpose of seals was to mark ownership of property, right? This was the main purpose of seals, to mark ownership of property. Now, on some seals, we also find religious symbols or the figures of deities, gods. Like, for example, we have the Pashupati Mahadeva seal. We looked at it last class. Um, on a clay tablet found at Mohenjo-daro, we have the figure of a deity sitting cross-legged on a low throne, and some animals have surrounded him: elephant, tiger, rhino, buffalo, and 2 deer. And this particular seal has been called Pashupati Mahadeva. So this is a Pashupati Mahadeva seal. Similarly, we have Mother Goddess seal, again found at Mohenjo-daro. So some seals give us information about the religious practices of the Harappans, religious pantheon of the Harappans. But that was not the main purpose of seal. The main purpose of seals was to mark ownership of property. So the most common material used to make such seals was steatite. This was a soft stone called steatite. So this was the common material used to make seals. But apart from steatite, we also have seals made of terracotta, copper, faience, ivory, etc. So we also have other materials by which these seals were made, right? The most commonly depicted animal on the Harappan seal is the unicorn. So last class we saw what is a unicorn. Unicorn is a humpless bull. It's a humpless bull shown in profile with its horn superimposed on each other. That is, the bull is standing sideways. Since it is facing sideways, only one horn is seen, the horn which is facing us. So the most commonly depicted animal on a Harappan seal is called a unicorn. Right? This is about Harappan seals. Right? The technique of making it was cutting and polishing it. So it was cut into proportionate size, square and rectangular, and then it was fired in the kiln, and something has been written on it. And each citizen in the Harappan civilization might have had his own seal. Did you understand? This is seal. What is Harappan seal? All of you clear? Yeah, it's something like etching. Yeah, Bhavna, it is incised is something like etching on the pot. Okay. So you can see here on your screen, greatest artistic creations of the Harappans, about 2000 have been found, made of steatite, and we have other materials which it was made of, like copper shell, etc. Most commonly animal depicted is the unicorn, right? So majority have an animal engraved on them with a short inscription. Something has been written on it. So humpless bull shown in profile with its horns superimposed on each other. So unicorn is the most frequently depicted animal, and unicorn is also called ekashringa. Ek is, in Hindi one, shringa is a horn. So unicorn is also been called a ekashringa. What are the other animals depicted on Harappan seals? Elephant, tiger, rhino, antelope, and a crocodile. So remember this, please. So I have put this in the same order. If you look at remember the animals surrounding Pashupati Mahadeva: elephant, tiger, rhino, buffalo, and 2 deer. Here we have elephant, tiger, rhino, antelope, and a crocodile. Right. So these are the 5 animals which we find depicted on seals, apart from a unicorn. So unicorn becomes the 6th animal. So remember the animals depicted on Harappan seals. So most of them, there are 2 types of seals: square type with a carved animal and an inscription, and a rectangular type with an inscription only. Main purpose to mark ownership of property. Right. So every important citizen must have had his own seal. Right. So let me move on to the next um, so you can see on your screen, these are the various pictures of Harappan seals. So this is a humped bull. This is a humped bull, right? Humped bull. This is a humpless bull. This is again a humpless bull. This is an elephant shown, and this is Gilga. This is a hero who's holding 2 tigers in his hand, right? Each city had no each citizen, every important citizen, Deepesh Chatri. No, the thing is, um, every important citizen must have had his own seal, which is with its own distinct symbol on it, right? So it was basically used for commercial purposes. If I am sending something, some consignment to Mesopotamia, I should be having my seal on affixed to that bundle, whatever bundle I'm sending, isn't it? So every important citizen must have had his own seal. Not that everybody had a seal, but the important people might be having their own seal. Okay. So let me move. This is the unicorn, as we have seen. Then we come to burial practices. Burial practices of the Harappans. Now, every in every culture, we have a distinct method of disposal of dead bodies. For example, we have the Parsis who came from Iran to India. Parsis, even now, they dispose of their dead body in the manner they know. Uh, you have the Parsi temple of fire, and they carry the dead body to the Parsi temple of fire. They worship fire, as you know, the Parsis. John Abraham is a Parsi. Tata, Birlas, they're all Parsis. Now, you have a well there. You have a well there inside the Parsi temple of fire, and the dead body is lowered into the well. It is put into the well, and then vultures come. Vultures come and feed on the dead body. And Parsis believe that since vultures fly very high in the sky, they are messengers to heaven. They carry the soul of the person to the gates of heaven and leave the soul at the gates of heaven and come back. So even now, Parsis dispose of their dead bodies like that. Now, what was the burial practices amongst the Harappans? Now, please understand, there were three methods of disposal of dead bodies amongst the Harappans, common methods of disposal of dead bodies. Look here, number one is, so we're doing burial practices. The first and the most common method of disposal of dead bodies is called complete burial. Complete burial, and it is also called extended inhumation. Extended inhumation. So when somebody died, what is this extended inhumation? Somebody died in the Harappan civilization. A pit was dug up like this. The body was made to lie on its back. So the body is made to lie on its back, something like this. You can see on your screen, like this. The head is mostly pointing towards the north, right? Sometimes towards the east and sometimes towards the west. Very rarely or almost hardly any example we have of the head pointing towards the south. So mostly the head is pointing towards the north, sometimes towards the east, or sometimes towards the west. And then the pit was covered with mud. The pit was filled up with mud. This is the most common method of disposal of dead bodies. This is called complete burial. Okay. Then second method of disposal of dead body is called fractional burial. Fractional burial. What is fractional burial? Somebody died in the Harappan civilization, right? The dead body was exposed to wild animals and birds of carrion like vulture. So vultures will come, wild animals will come and feed on the dead body. They'll feed on the dead body. Now, whatever is remaining, the bones, skull, some flesh, those were buried into the ground. Those were buried into the ground. That is called fractional burial. And the third method of disposal of dead bodies is called a post-cremation burials. Post-cremation burial. What is cremation? Crematorium, cremation, burning. Burning. So somebody died, the dead body was burnt with firewood, but then all the parts of the dead body might not be fully burnt. Maybe the skull, a part of the skull may be not fully burnt. Femur, the biggest bone in our body, the thigh bone, might not be fully burnt. A fingernail, hair. So all these were collected in an urn or a pot, and then the pot was buried into the ground. This is called post-cremation burial. Am I there with you? Sir, is unicorn an animal which can fly because it has wings? I have never said anything like that, Anjali Rajput. Right? So don't confuse with the Western concept of a unicorn. This is the unicorn with respect to Harappan civilization. It was a bull with only one horn seen. Not that it had only one horn, two horns. It had two horns like all bulls have, but this is standing in a sideway profile. Okay. Right. So these are the three methods of disposal of dead bodies: complete burial, fractional burial, post-cremation burials. Now, apart from these three methods of disposal of dead bodies, in certain Harappan sites, we have found other methods of disposal of dead bodies. So, complete burial is one, as you can see on your screen, complete burial, fractional burial, post-cremation burial. The most common was complete burial. Now, apart from these three methods of disposal of dead bodies, we have other forms of burial found in certain Harappan sites. For example, at Lothal, on your screen you can see Lothal, we have the example of a double burial coming from Lothal. What is double burial here in the context of Harappan civilization? A male and a female have been buried next to each other, suggesting the practice of sati. Suggesting the practice of sati. I'm not saying, historians are saying not that sati was practiced by the Harappans. It is suggestive of the practice of sati. You can see here on your screen. So this could be a double burial on your screen. This could again be a double burial. This one could be a double burial, right? So this is called double burial, male and female buried next to each other. This has been found at Lothal. Now, please understand, this is not the rule. These are exceptions to the burial practices of the Harappans. Three common methods were there. We just now discussed: complete burial, fractional burial, post-cremation burial. But then we have other distinct methods of disposal of dead body. At Lothal, double burial. Then we have at Ropar in the Punjab, we have found a dog buried along with its master. So a dog has been buried along with its master. This is called a dog burial. Dog burial. So here, what does it suggest? It suggests belief in life after death. A belief in life after death. So there was a master, and he had a dog. The master died. They killed the dog also and buried the dog next to the master, in the belief that if the master is reborn again somewhere, the dog will also be reborn again with him, and then he will have somebody to, um, you know, um, the dog will accompany the master and guard him, right? So that is a belief in life after death. Then we have pot burial, where the remains of the dead body, ashes, urns, etc., ashes, bones, etc., were kept in the urn, and the pot was buried. So we have a pot burial from Surkotada. This could be a pot burial. You can see a pot there. So that is an example of a pot burial. And then, of course, coffin burial, like the way Christians buried their dead. Even now, the dead body is placed in a wooden coffin, and the coffin and the dead body is lowered into the grave along with the coffin. So this is called coffin burial. We see that at Harappa, right? So these are the standard methods of disposal of dead bodies, apart from some distinct methods of disposal of dead bodies. Pot burial, yeah, Zeba, pot burial, I told you, pot burial is nothing but uh, where the person was burnt, okay, the dead body was burnt, and the ashes were collected. The relics means bones, right? Then fingernails, hair, the skull, a part of the skull, a part of a bone, etc., were collected in a pot, and the pot was buried, right? Sandeep, I've already answered this. We have Harappans had cultural and trade contacts with the Mesopotamians. Till now, we do not have any evidence of they having any connection with the Chinese or the Egyptians. Is Burzohom the first site to find dog burial? Sham, as far as my knowledge goes, no. Burzohom, we have found double burial there, where a dog has been buried with its master, and then, of course, we have found pit dwellings there, right? And here, in the context of Harappan civilization, double burial is man and a female, male and a female buried next to each other, right? Now, decline of this civilization. We'll go to the next aspect of this civilization, decline. After 2000 BC, what we notice is the Harappan culture slowly declined and gradually faded out. And a number of theories have been given by scholars, right? One is the change in the course of the river Indus. Change in the course of the river Indus. Now, understand this briefly, very simple. So, different theories as regards the decline of the civilization. Now, what is this change in the course of the Indus? Now, we have something called paleo channels. So we have the help of technology now. Satellite imagery is there, satellites. So with the help of satellites, what we notice is we can trace paleo channels. That is, the river Indus, which was once upon a time flowing 30 kilometers east, is now flowing 30 kilometers west, right? So you can see the trail of the river, the trail of the river. So, okay, this is something like this, the trail of the river. So it was flowing 30 kilometers east during the Harappan civilization. Now the same river is flowing something like this. Okay, something like this. Now, how did this happen? This civilization was located in a seismic zone. This was in a seismic zone, that is earthquake prone area. So this was an earthquake prone area, and we had frequent tremors, and a severe earthquake or a tremor might have occurred at the mouth of the that is the source of the river, right, and forcing the river to change its course. Now, we know that this was a river valley based civilization, like the other contemporary civilizations like Mesopotamia, Egypt, etc. The Harappan civilization was also a river valley based civilization. Cities were founded on the banks of rivers. Once the river changed its course, people lost their source of water, right? People lost their source of water, and therefore they were forced to abandon those cities. So, what are the cities existing on the banks of the Indus? Chanhudaro, Mohenjo-daro. These are cities on the banks of rivers. So, people were forced to go away from those cities because there was shortage of water, and later no water at all because the river had changed its course. This is number one. Then we have increasing aridity. So increasing, this is actually increasing aridity, right? So here you see, or increasing salinity is also fine. Salinity is where that is saline soil, more of salt content. Salt content. So increasing salinity. So you have the Thar desert. So in the neighborhood, in Rajasthan, you have the Thar desert, and the desert soil is saline. It has got a lot of salt content, and the desert keeps on expanding. Even now, the desert is expanding. So whatever agricultural lands were next to the or very near to the desert got adversely affected by the saline soil of the desert, the saline mud of the desert. So that reduces the productivity from the land. It reduced the productivity from the land. So Harappans could not engage in agriculture in those areas, right? And therefore they were forced to abandon that area and go away. So that is called increasing salinity. Okay, so that is another aspect, another theory. Then we have the flooding concept. What is this flooding concept? You see, every year there used to be a flood. We know this. Every year in the Harappan civilization, the Indus River used to have floods. The Indus used to have floods. Now, once in a few decades, let us say once in 10 years or once in 25 years, there might have been a gigantic flood. And like it happened a few years back, about more than 10 years back in Uttarkashi. The entire town of Uttarkashi went under the waters, isn't it? So there might have been a gigantic flood, and it might have submerged the city. And we have archaeology to help us to support this theory. Archaeology supports this theory. Look here. In archaeology, we have deep digging and surface digging. What is surface digging? They dig 2-3 feet or up to 5 feet below the ground and to see what is there underneath. That's called surface digging. And then we have vertical digging. Vertical digging is 100 feet, 50, 100, or even more below the ground at one spot. So when vertical digging was done at Mohenjo-daro, the historians, archaeologists were shocked to notice something. Look here on your screen. So they began to dig from the top. What did they find? They found a city. So this is a city. Okay, this is a city. This is a city of Mohenjo-daro. Okay, so they have dug under the city of Mohenjo-daro. They found a city. Underneath the city, they dug up. What did they find? They found a layer of sand. They found a layer of sand like this. This is sand. Then they dug up under the sand. Then they found another layer of city. When they dug up under this layer of city, they again found another layer of sand like this. So you have 9 building levels like this, interspersed by sand. 9 building levels interspersed by sand. So buildings, cities, then sand, cities, sand like this. going all the way below 300 feet. 9 levels of building levels interspersed by sand going down 300 feet. So what is the explanation for this? The explanation for this is the flooding concept. The Harappans have been blamed to be a very inflexible people. They had a very rigid mindset. They lacked plasticity of mind. What is plasticity of mind? They lacked flexibility of mind. You see, this is one of the accusations made against the Harappans, and one of the theories regards the decline of the Harappan civilization. Now, what is this plasticity of mind? I told you once in a few decades, there used to be a gigantic flood. So a flood came, it has submerged the city of Mohenjo-daro. Many of the Harappans escaped. So sand covered that city. So whoever escaped, they came back and built a city on the same spot. Once the flood waters receded and the river came to its normal flow, they came back and built a city on the same spot. And again, after a few decades, okay, again a gigantic flood came. Again, it submerged the city. So Harappans again came back and built a city on the same spot. So this is called flooding concept, and archaeology supports this theory, right? Did you understand flooding concept? Okay. Hello? Yeah. Dhyana, you're right. If it is coffin, the wood would have degraded. That is true. The wood would have degraded, no doubt about it. But then, through chemical analysis, we come to know, and some traces of wood being used is there. So we come to know from that, right? So flooding concept is another theory. Then Aryan invasion theory. This Aryan invasion theory was given by Mortimer Wheeler. Mortimer Wheeler gave this theory about Aryan invasion. So what does he say, Mortimer Wheeler? Wheeler says that the Aryans were responsible for the decline of the Harappan civilization. And he says, he gives a sudden death theory. What is sudden death theory? Sudden death theory given by Mortimer Wheeler, or foreign invasion theory. He says that the Aryans came and destroyed the civilization. And what is the proof we have? So we have some archaeological proof to substantiate this theory. At Mohenjo-daro, we have found 13 skeletons. See, I'll tell you one more thing. Students, one mantra I'll give you to stay alert in the morning. So because, every morning, early 6 o'clock, you have to be alert, get up. That may not be your everybody's cup of tea. But then what you do is you get up and have a shower and then eat something. Okay, eat something, maybe carbohydrates, banana, have a nice breakfast, right? You keep it ready in the night itself. So when you eat, what happens is your sugar levels are maintained. What is scientific again? When did you have your dinner? Maybe last night, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, okay, maybe 10 o'clock. And when will you have your breakfast? After class. Most of you will be having breakfast after class. Let us say 9:30 onwards, right? So there is a gap of almost 12 hours. In that 12 hours, the sugar level would have come down. Not that we are sugar patients. I'm not saying that you are sugar patients. The sugar level in the body would have come down, so you'll be feeling sleepy. So you restore the sugar level by eating something, right? So once you're filled up, what happens is you're alert, and that will help you in your class. Okay, so please try that, and you will thank me hopefully. Now we'll come back here. Now, sudden death theory. At Mohenjo-daro, we have evidence of 13 skeletons. 13 skeletons. Okay, yeah, fine. So 13 skeletons have been found of women and children huddled next to each other. So 13 skeletons of women and children huddled next to each other have been found. And each of those skeletons bear a deep sword cut mark. They have been killed by a long sword. So somebody has struck them with a long sword, and we see on the skeletons the mark of a sword on them. So a long sword, was responsible for the death of those women and children. Now we know that the Harappans never used to use a long sword. They always used to use a short sword, that too for self-defense. So they were very peace-loving people. So this is one archaeological evidence we have regarding the Aryan invasion theory, historians believe that it might have been some outsider, presumably the Aryans who might have attacked the Harappans. This is one theory. Second archaeological evidence we have is at Harappa, at a later stage, we have the citadel walls being strengthened at a later time. So we know this. On the western side, you have a citadel area. On the eastern side, we have the lower town. Now, on the western side, the citadel has been strengthened at a later date. What is the explanation for this? Presumably, the Harappans anticipated an attack from outsider, from some outsider. There might have been a threat from some outsider, presumably the Aryans, and therefore the Harappans have strengthened the citadel walls. So this is archaeological evidence we have as regards a plausible Aryan invasion theory, Aryan invasion. Then we have literary evidence to support this theory. What is the literary evidence we have? We have the Rig Veda. So Rig Veda was composed by the Aryans. And in the Rig Veda, we have some shlokas, or hymns. We have some hymns or shlokas. So in one of the shlokas, it says, "Let those whose deity be phallus not penetrate our sanctuary. Let those whose deity be phallus not penetrate our sanctuary." So here, the Aryans were nature worshippers. They used to worship sun, thunder, lightning, wind, rain, earth, etc. They were not worshipping Pashupati Mahadeva, Mother Goddess, phallus, male and female sexual organs like the Harappans. They were nature worshippers. So in the Rig Veda, there's a shloka which says, "Let those whose deity be phallus not penetrate our sanctuary." That is, let those people who worship the phallus, the male sexual organ, not come nearer us. Let them not be coming near us. Keep them away. So this is one shloka we have. Similarly, another proof we have, literary proof we have, is the most powerful god of the Aryans was Indra. Indra was the most powerful god of the Aryans. And Indra had many titles. One of the titles of Indra is Purandara. Purandara. Purandara means breaker of forts. The breaker of forts. Now here, breaker of forts. Now here, forts refers, according to historians, fort refers to the citadel area of the Harappans. So Aryans used to drink Soma and Sura. Those were alcoholic drinks of the Aryans, Soma and Sura. Then they used to pray to their war god, Indra, and then they used to go to war. So Indra has been called Purandara, breaker of forts. So probably here the Aryans used to drink Soma and Sura and attack the Harappans in the, when they used to go to war. So this is the literary evidence and the archaeological evidence which tell us that the Aryans were responsible for the decline of the civilization, or they destroyed the Harappan civilization according to Mortimer Wheeler. But please understand, I'll give you a disclaimer here. Historians believe that even before the Aryans came and attacked the Harappan civilization, already the civilization was on its decline. Even before the Aryans came, the civilization was on its decline. What the Aryans did is they gave it a final blow. They gave it a final blow. So that's what we can say, right? This is Aryan invasion theory. And of course, decline of trade with Sumeria is another theory. Decline of trade with Sumeria or Mesopotamia, that also affected the Harappans, the commercial contacts with Sumeria and the decline of trade adversely affected those cities which used to trade with the Mesopotamians. And lastly, ecological degradation theory. This is the most acceptable theory given by Walter A. Fairservice. So we have this Walter A. Fairservice. So he is the one who gives this theory, Walter A. Fairservice. So what does he say? Walter A. Fairservice tells us that the Harappans overexploited their limited resources. Okay, so Walter A. Fairservice. So he tells us that the Harappans overexploited their limited resources. Please understand, the Harappan civilization existed in a semi-deciduous kind of a area. It was not in a tropical rainforest where there is heavy rains, thick forests abounding the civilization. No, it was in a semi-arid zone, a semi-deciduous type of forest existed in that area. So what the Harappans did is, I believe, they cut down the forest. Why did they cut down the forest? To make it fit for agriculture. We know that about 35,000 to 40,000 people used to live in the cities of Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and all those people had to be fed, right? So what did the Harappans do? They cut down the forests and made it fit for agriculture. Their cattle overgrazed their land, so they engaged in overcultivation, overgrazing. Their cattle engaged in overgrazing and also deforestation. So this had an adverse effect on the climate of that area. And this brought about the decline of this civilization, according to Walter A. Fairservice. So this is the most acceptable theory. But then please understand, not one theory, but a combination of all these theories. Not one theory, but a combination of all these theories are held responsible for the decline of the Harappan civilization. But then we cannot use the word destroyed. Now, please understand, we cannot use the word destroyed. Um, Aryans came and destroyed this civilization. We cannot say this. Why? Simply because many of the traits, many of the cultural practices, civilizational traits, and practices of the Harappans are even now followed by us. For example, the way the Harappans designed their cities, roads running from north to south, east to west, dividing the city into square or rectangular blocks, an underground drainage system. Harappans giving a lot of importance to health and cleanliness, hygiene. They taking a bath every day. They using cotton. The religious practices of the Harappans, worshipping Pashupati Mahadeva, who is now called Shiva. No? That is the Linga. The Linga, Shiva is worshipped in the form of Linga, and Linga is symbolically the male sexual organ. Similarly, we have the worship of Mother Goddess, and we even now worship Mother Goddess. We have given her different names: Durga, Kali, etc., Lakshmi, etc. Right? Fire worship is there even now. Fire altars are there. Homes are performed. So, of course, Homa is a Vedic ritual, but then fire worship is there. Bulls were worshipped by the Harappans. We even now we worship bulls, right? Then during Shankranti, Pongal, Bihu, bulls are worshipped in rural areas. They are washed, they are painted, their horns are painted, they're made to jump on a fire. Snake cult is there. We even now worship snakes among the Hindus. Many temples thrive on on snake worship, like you have Naga dosha and such things, right? Uh, Amulets are worn even now by us. That is supposed to ward off evil eye. Tavis or amulets are worn by us. Trees are worshipped even now. So whatever the Harappans used to do, we even now continue to practice. So what we can say is the Harappan civilization underwent a process of de-urbanization. Please use these words in the emails in the context, in the right context. If there's a question asked, the Harappan civilization underwent a process of de-urbanization. What is the meaning of de-urbanization? From villages, the Harappans built cities and established that civilization. For various reasons, as we have just now discussed, the Harappans abandoned their cities and went away to rural areas. So that aspect is known as de-urbanization. So the Harappan civilization was not destroyed. We cannot use the word destroyed. Okay, it only underwent a process of de-urbanization. So this is the decline of the Harappan civilization. Am I there with you? Please repeat last one. Which one, Sandeep? So I said that we cannot use the word sixth point. Okay. Ecological degradation. Ecological degradation is the theory given by Walter A. Fairservice. Walter A. Fairservice says that the Harappans overexploited their limited resources. So this was an area, the civilization where it existed was having limited resources. So the Harappans over cultivated their lands, their cattle overgrazed the lands, right? They engaged in deforestation, extensive deforestation. They cut down the forest. Why did they cut down the forest? Simply because they had to keep those kilns burning. The Harappans used to build their buildings out of burnt bricks, and to make burnt bricks, you require fire and firewood, and firewood was brought from the adjoining forests. So they were cut down and then firewood was brought to the cities to keep those kilns burning. This extensive deforestation resulted in an ecological change in that area. Overgrazing, overcultivation, and deforestation brought about a change in the environment, affecting the civilization adversely, right? And including the water table. The Sardhanjali, the deurbanization I told you is we cannot use the word destroyed, because many of the practices of the Harappans are even now followed by us. The way we design our cities, their religious practices, right? Then, of course, uh, um, so various aspects of their life are even now followed by us. Therefore, we cannot use the word destroyed. We can use the word only deurbanization. So they from villages, they had established cities. So Harappans, for various reasons, abandoned those cities and went away to rural areas. And that phase is called post-urban phase. Post-urban phase or sub-Indus culture, also called Jangar culture, right? Muttupandi, how decline of trade with Sumeria led to decline. See, you have some cities engaging in trade with the Harappan, with the Sumerians, right? So there was commercial contact, and the incentive for people living in that city was to have trade with the Mesopotamians. So once the trade declined with the Mesopotamia, the civilization declined, the trade declined, there was no incentive for them to live in those cities, because that was their source of income when they were trading with the Mesopotamians, right? So that is the reason, though people, whichever cities, people living in those cities were trading with the Mesopotamians, they had to abandon those cities and go away. So this is one theory. Increasing aridity or salinity. So you have the Thar Desert expanding, desert keeps on expanding, and the agricultural land which abandoned the desert. So next to the desert, you have agricultural land, you have sandstorms, etc. So that might have affected the productivity of the land. So Harappans could not engage in agriculture on that soil, because you have the desert soil which has more salt content, that might have affected the productivity of the soil, and therefore when they were not able to engage in agriculture around those lands, around the desert, they had to abandon that area and go away. So that is one theory. Flooding concept, Sakshi, I have already told you. You have frequently gigantic floods used to happen. Every year the Indus used to experience floods, but once in a while you have a gigantic flood happening, and that might have submerged the city of Mohenjo-daro. So there are certain cities which were destroyed by floods, like Mohenjo-daro, Chanhu-daro. These are cities destroyed by floods, and that is called flooding concept. Okay, fine. Thank you, Sandeep. So we'll move on now. There are other important sites. Like I'll only discuss the main points here. We have the major Harappan sites: Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, Kalibangan, Dhoravira, etc. So let us look at the unique aspects of each of these Harappan sites. This is the site of Harappa on your screen. You can see on your screen. So you have 891 seals found here. You can on your screen 891 seals found here. That is about 36.12% of the total writing material of this civilization. So 891 seals. Two stone figurines have been found. One is a red sandstone naked male torso. So on to the right of your screen, you can see this. So we have a stone figurine made of red sandstone. And I have mentioned in the bracket Jainism. So when I do art and culture, we will talk about it. The Jains, when they saw this red sandstone naked male torso is only till here, to the bust, till the bust. So they claimed that it might have been one of their Tirthankaras, as if Jainism existed way back in the Harappan period. So one naked male red sandstone torso has been found there in Harappa, and a female dancer of grey stone. We have working floors where grains were threshed. You can see here. So working floors. These are called working floors, where the after the harvest you have the grain being threshed on this sort of a platform to separate the grain from the chaff. So nowadays you have mills, but those days they did not have mills. So even now such practices go on in the rural areas, where they are able to separate the grain from the chaff by threshing the crop, the harvested crop, onto such platforms. So we have found working floors or circular brick platforms at Harappa. Then single room tenements have been found, small rooms which probably housed coolies. Small, coolies used to live in such rooms, the labor class. So we have found that. Then of course we have vanity case, purse. Women carry purse even nowadays. So Harappans were a pretty fashion conscious people. So vanity case has been found at Harappa. We have six granaries in two rows found here. You can see on your screen, to the right of your screen. These are the granaries. Six granaries, one, two, three, four, five, and six. So there are two rows of six granaries at Harappa. Wooden coffin, potter's wheel has been found. Bronze artifacts have been found, including a measuring scale. So such things have been found. Female sexual organs, that is yoni, has been found. And a very unique method of disposal of dead bodies, mostly that of the Aryans, has been found at Harappa. So on the periphery of Harappa, on the outskirts of Harappa, we have found a very distinct method of disposal of dead bodies, presumably that of the Aryans. And here archaeologists have called them as head symmetry, right? So these are the things, important things found at Harappa. And of course, the site has been called Harappan civilization because Harappa was the first site to be discovered, right? Then we come to Mohenjo-daro. On your screen, you can see Mohenjo-daro, and this is the picture of a stupa. This stupa was built much later. This stupa came about much later. It was not existing during the Harappan times. Now, in Sindhi language, it means mound of the dead. So, what is the meaning of mound of the dead? So, you have a raised portion of the earth. As you know, this is a mound, raised portion of the earth. So, when digging was done on these such mounds, human skeletons in large numbers were found. So, therefore, it was called Mound of the Dead. It is the second largest city, as you all know, after Rakhigarhi. Now, Rakhigarhi is the largest Harappan city. So what are the important things at Mohenjo-daro? We have the Great Bath. So, you can see here, this is the Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro. This was a ritual bathing site. So, it made of burnt bricks, made of burnt bricks. You have steps going down here into the Great Bath. So, and it was made watertight with lime, gypsum, and mortar. You have rooms adjoining the Great Bath. You can see here. It is believed that some ablutions, rituals were performed in those rooms around the Great Bath. Right. So, this was a ritual bathing site. It was not a swimming pool, definitely. It was a ritual bathing site. So, this is the Great Bath, right? Uh, the most important public place found here. Then we have also the Great Granary. This is the Great Granary here. You can see here, Great Granary. So Harappans used to store their food grains here. This has been built on a platform at a height. Why it has been built on a height? To protect the stored food grains from rodents like rats and bandicoots. So it has been built at a height so that the bandicoot and the rats cannot reach the food grains. And you have holes in the walls for air circulation so that the stored grains remain fresh. So this is the Great Granary. The largest building at Mohenjo-daro is this. So I have embellished my PPTs with a lot of pictures. As there is a saying, a picture speaks 1,000 words. A picture speaks 1,000 words. So with the pictures, I'm sure you'll be able to better understand. Right. So Great Granary, it is the largest and most remarkable structure. Then, of course, we have oblong multi-pillared assembly hall. A big rectangular building has been found here, which probably served administrative purposes. How we know that these are rooms only? That's what the archaeologists, Divyani, this is what the archaeologists say, that probably some rituals are performed around the rooms there, adjoining the Great Bath. We have found a similar structure in Mesopotamia, in the temple of Ishtar. So this is common to even Mesopotamia. And again, around the Great Bath or the pool found in Mesopotamia, we have found rooms. So it is presumed that some rituals are performed in those rooms, right? So further, we have the bronze dancing girl. You can see here, this is the figure of a nude female dancing girl. And now let me explain to you. There was a particular technique by which the Harappans used to make bronze images. So Harappans had perfected alloy technology. So they had learned to make bronze. And how do you get bronze? When you add copper with tin. When you add copper to tin, you get bronze, right? As you all know. Now, this is the world's oldest bronze image. On your screen, this is the world's oldest bronze image. Um, and it is about 2.5 centimeters in size. This is the size of this bronze image. You can see on your screen, this is the figure of a female. She is naked. Her left arm is covered in bangles. You can see her left arm is covered in bangles. It looks like she is taking rest. This is what is the interpretation given by historians. It looks like she has finished her dance and she is taking rest. She is trying to regain her breath. So she has placed her left arm on one of her legs. Then her right arm has a pair of bangles. Okay. Then she has tied her hair in a bun. So she has tied her hair in a bun and she is wearing a garland. Sorry, she's wearing a necklace, right? Now, and she is standing in a particular posture. This is called Tribhanga posture, three bent body. Tribhanga. This is called Tribhanga posture. Now, what was the technique used by the Harappans to cast such bronze images? Now, first of all, what the Harappans used to do is they used to take beeswax. So you see, wax is a byproduct of petroleum. Candle, everybody has a candle in their house. So it is a byproduct of petroleum. And those days there was no petroleum, as you all know. So what the Harappans used to do is they used to take beeswax. You have the honey bee and you have the beehive. So and the beehive has where the honey is stored by the bees. That looks like wax. That is like wax. So they will collect beeswax from the beehive. Okay, and then they will make a model like this. So imagine whatever you see on your screen is made of beeswax. Okay, so imagine this is made of beeswax. So with all the details, so she's wearing bangles, a set of bangles on her right hand, full bangles on her left arm, a necklace, etc. So with all the details, imagine this is made of beeswax. So once this was made of beeswax, what the Harappans would do is they will take clay, mud, fine mud or clay from the ant hill. So you have the ant hill, and the hands would have diligently collected minute grains of clay, and they would have made their ant hill. The Harappans would pick up clay or mud from such an ant hill, and they'll mix it with water, and they'll apply that paste, clay paste, on top of this wax model, beeswax model. Okay, so imagine the entire model of this female made of beeswax is covered in clay, right? And they will leave a small hole. They'll leave a small hole, something like this, on the mud plaster. And then they will allow it to dry. So the clay becomes hard. The clay becomes hard when it is put in the sun. Then what the Harappans would do is they will take this model, they'll take this plaster, which contains the beeswax inside, and they will keep it on fire. They will give it heat. So once the heat penetrates the clay, the beeswax inside starts melting, right? So once the beeswax starts melting, they'll pour all the um, beeswax through that hole. They'll pour it out. So there's a hollow mold inside, isn't it? Earlier there was beeswax. Now all the beeswax has been removed because of the heat. So there's a hollow mold there. Then they will take copper in one vessel and tin in another vessel, and they'll give it heat. So at around 3500 degree Fahrenheit, copper and tin starts melting. So they will pour this liquid copper and liquid tin into a container, common container. Okay, so that is bronze liquid. Now they'll pour the bronze liquid into that hole. So where there was earlier beeswax is now covered by bronze liquid, right? So once it starts overflowing, that means all the gap has been covered by bronze liquid. Then they'll allow it to solidify. They'll stop pouring. They'll allow it to solidify. Once it becomes solidified, they'll remove the plaster. The mud plaster is removed, and finishing touches are given. Polish is given. This is called Sir Perdue method. Sir Perdue method of casting bronze images, or lost wax technique. Lost wax technique. This was the technique developed by the Harappans. And please understand, the same technique is used even now by the bronze smiths of Tamil Nadu. So in Tamil Nadu, we have bronze smiths, Nataraja bronze smiths, who make this Nataraja bronze images and other images of gods and goddesses. The same technique is followed. Of course, to cast Nataraja bronzes, they use a combination of five metals. Panchaloha is used with more gold content. In the Chola period, they used to use more gold. Nowadays, gold is costly, so they'll use only less gold. The bronze smiths of Tamil Nadu. Even the Palas, 10th century Palas, they used to cast bronze images of Lord Buddha through the Sirperdu method. So this is a legacy left behind by the Harappans, the lost wax technique or the Sirperdu method. Are you there with me? Is it fine? Yeah, Tribanga style. That is true. Tribanga. Are you there? Dhyana, polish is given on the bronze. I told you, all the beeswax is removed. Once the heat is given, all the beeswax is removed, and then the plaster, mud plaster is removed, and then the finishing touches are given. Clear, right? So use your imagination, you'll understand. This is called lost wax technique. So this was the technique used by the Harappans, and even now it is followed. Right. So the bronze dancing girl, we have, of course, a piece of woven cloth found here. You can see on your screen. I'm coming to that. This is a piece of woven cloth, a piece of cotton found at Mohenjo-daro, and such cotton has been found in many of the Mesopotamian sites. So Harappans used to export cotton fiber as well as cotton textiles to Mesopotamia. We have found Harappan cotton even in Bahrain. So we can trace the trade route of taken by the ships from Meluha to Mesopotamia. Then on your screen you can see the figure of a priest. This is supposed to be a bearded man, supposedly a priest. So he was a priest, it is said. Now you can see he has got mongoloid features. According to historians, he has got mongoloid features. People of the Northeast, China, Japan, etc., they have mongoloid features. So so this priest has mongoloid features. So this nose has got damaged because in the international exhibition, India decided to send this particular model abroad for the exhibition, and during the transportation, it got damaged. So after that, they decided they will not send any artifacts to any exhibition anywhere in the world. So this has got damaged here. So you can see this is supposed to be a priest. How do we know he's a priest? This is the interpretation given by historians, not me. Don't take me otherwise. This is an interpretation given by historians. So you can see his right arm is left exposed. He's wearing a cloth, a piece of a cloth or a dhoti around his left shoulder and under his right arm. Even now, priests anywhere in India, Hindu priests, they cover their body like this with a dhoti or a cloth. This is called trefoil pattern. Trefoil pattern. Trefoil pattern. And look at his beautifully trimmed beard. So this particular priest doesn't have a mustache, only beard. So beautifully trimmed beard he's got. He has also combed his hair and he's wearing a bandana sort of a thing. You know, he's tied his hair in a bandana sort of a thing. So he's supposed to be a priest. So this is made of steatite, soft stone called steatite. So this is a steatite model of a priest found at Mohenjo-daro, right? Fine. So these are the important things found at Mohenjo-daro. Then let us come to the next site. This is Dholavira. On your screen, you can see Dholavira. Now, what is so unique to Dholavira? Understand this. What is so unique to Dholavira? We know that the Harappan cities were designed in a particular manner. You can see here on the western side, you have a citadel. This is the western side, and there was a massive brick wall here around the western side, giving protection to the inmates living in that area. So it is presumed that the ruler or rulers were living here. We don't know whether there was one king or many kings. And the lower town, eastern part, is the lower town where the common people like you and me used to live. So this is standard Harappan design concept of cities, isn't it? But then in Dholavira, what we notice is there is a middle town. There's a middle town. This is unique to Dholavira. So this is called Dholavira exclusive. Exclusive to Dholavira, there's a middle town, and it is presumed by historians that the family of the ruler or rulers used to stay in this middle town. The family of the ruler or the rulers used to stay in the middle town. This is one. You can see here on your screen. This is the middle town. This is the middle town. This is A. A is Castle and Bailey. This is the citadel area. And C, this is the middle town. And this one, D, is the lower town. So this is the middle town. So this is exclusive to Dholavira. It is the latest site to be discovered, Dholavira. 1991, it was discovered, Dholavira, the latest site to be discovered, and one of the largest sites in India after Rakhigarhi. Now, this is one thing, middle town exclusive to Dholavira. Secondly, we have a reservoir which has been found there. Many reservoirs have been found, 3, 4 have been found. This is the picture of a reservoir on the screen. Now, till the reservoirs were found at Dholavira, it was believed by historians that the Harappans did not know about canal irrigation. It was believed that they did not know about canal irrigation. Now, how do we get water from the into our canals and houses or into the fields? So water is stored in the dam, and then the gates of the dam are opened. The gates of the reservoir are opened, and through canals, it comes to the fields through feeder canals, isn't it? Now, we thought, historians believed that the Harappans did not know about canal irrigation until we found a few reservoirs in Dholavira. So once this was discovered, we know that the historians had to revise their opinion. So Harappans used to store water in such reservoirs, and through these reservoirs, they used to direct the water via canals into their fields. So Harappans knew about canal irrigation, and also we have found on a large inscription 10 large size signs of Harappan script. 10 large signs of Harappan script have been found at Dholavira. Are you there with me? Can I move on? Okay. So you can see here the picture of a street, at Dholavira. It looks like any village in any part of India. So this is a street um, in Dholavira. So none of the houses had their doors and windows facing the main street. Now, Lothal. This is the only Indus site with an artificial brick dockyard. You can see here, this is the picture of a dockyard at Lothal. So this was a dockyard, a man-made dockyard, and ships used to dock here, and the Harappans used to trade with Mesopotamia through this particular dockyard. Now, how did this dockyard function? You can see another picture I have put here. Look at the beautiful arrangement of the stones of the dockyard. More than 3,000 years old, and it looks so beautiful even now. So here, this is an artist's impression of Lothal. How did the dockyard function? Now look here. So here you have ships entering the dockyard through a gate. So the Harappans used to wait for the high tide. You have a high tide and a low tide, isn't it? So during the high tide, you have the sea flowing at a higher level. There's a higher level. So during the high tide, the ships will enter the dockyard. So the gate is opened and the ships enter the dockyard, and they'll close the gate. Loading, unloading will take place here. All the loading, unloading will take place. And when the ship has to go back to the sea, they'll wait for the next high tide. So in the next high tide, they will open the gate of the dockyard and the ship will go back and rejoin the sea. Extra water which has entered the dockyard when the gates were opened will go out like this back to the sea. This is how the Lothal port or dockyard functioned. And this is an artist's impression of Lothal, how it might have functioned, right? So the Harappans, um, so they had an artificial dockyard at Lothal. That's the only place where we have found a dockyard. And as you know, only at Lothal, we have the main door facing the main street. Main door of the houses are facing the main street. In none of the Harappan sites we have found we found the main door facing the main street. And of course, we have doubtful terracotta figurine of a horse has been found. Then evidence of chess game comes from Lothal. Evidence of chess game. So Shatranj is India's gift to the world. Shatranj is chess, as you know, chess. We have found evidence of chess game at Lothal. So, and they were one of the earliest to cultivate rice. In among the Harappans, they were one of the earliest to cultivate rice, the people of Lothal. And rice husk has been found at Rangpur near Ahmedabad. Second largest is Mohenjo-daro. Rakhigarhi is the biggest. Second largest is Mohenjo-daro. I don't know what Panama Canal, Udayanani. So Sandeep, this is how the this is how the dockyard function, right? This is how the dockyard function at Lothal. Now we'll come to other aspects. Kalibangan, I have given you. I'll only discuss the important things. We have evidence of mud brick fortification along with Surkotada. Along with Surkotada, we have Kalibangan, where even the lower town was fortified. Okay, so the lower town has been fortified at Kalibangan as well as Surkotada. We have evidence of wheel conveyance. A wheel has been found here, and we know that the Harappans did not have spoked wheels. They had a solid wheel, and Kalibangan shows both pre-Harappan and Harappan cultural phases. In the pre-Harappan level, we have found a plow there. So evidence of Harappans having used plow is there in the pre-Harappan levels. Chanudaro, the only Indus city without a citadel. So we don't find any citadel at Chanudaro. That's the only Indus city without a citadel. Ink pot has been found, interestingly, and a lipstick. Lipstick has been found. Not Lakme, but some other brand, Harappan brand. So Harappans were pretty fashion conscious. Whether both the males and the females used to wear, dab lipstick, we don't know. But lipstick has been found at Chanudaro, right? And also, people of Chanudara were expert craftsmen. So all these are all the craft shops found there. So I don't know, Sandeep, what was the brand, but then on the lighter side, light lipstick has been found. Okay, so Banavali, another of the, we have both pre-Harappan and Harappan cultural phases there. Surkotada, the only Harappan site where actual remains of a horse have been found. So we have horse bones. This has been found at Surkotada in Kutch, Gujarat. So Surkotada, actual remains of a horse. These are horse bones, right? Kot Diji probably was destroyed by fire. So we have evidence of destruction of Kot Diji because of fire. 5 figurines of Mother Goddess has been found there. Then Ropar, you can see the picture of a dog buried below a human burial. So this is the evidence of a dog being buried below a human burial at Ropar. Ropar in the Punjab. And we have Ropar occupied from Harappan times even into medieval times. Harappan, we have PGW, that is a Vedic period, Northern Black Polish ware, pre-Maurya and Maurya period, Kushana Gupta and medieval times. So Ropar was continuously occupied from the Harappan period onwards, but this was a dog belonging to the Harappan times, buried along with its master. So copper models of elephant, rhino, buffalo, bronze chariot comes from Daimabad. Daimabad is the southernmost Harappan site. Southernmost site, as you can see, right? Daimabad, southernmost Harappan city. So then we'll look at other information, miscellaneous information, evidence of trephination. So this, in the picture, you can see there's actually a hole here. There is hole in the skull that is missing. Just hold on. There's a hole in the skull here. There's a hole in the skull. So what is trephination? Let's understand that. So what is trephination? What is trephination? Now look here. We have evidence of trephination at Lothal and Kalibangan. Now what is trephination? See, to to cure somebody of a migraine headache or a mental imbalance. So somebody might have lost his mental balance in the Harappan civilization, or that person might be suffering from severe migraine headache. So a hole was made in the skull, uh, with the presumption that if a hole is made, the spirit or the ghost, which is creating that problem for that person, will escape from that hole, right? So that is called trephination. We have evidence of trephination from Lothal and Kalibangan. Now, don't ask me what happened to that person when a hole was made in his skull. Such practices existed even in other cultures, but we have evidence of trephination from Lothal and Kalibangan. Did you understand what is trephination? Right? Yeah, camel bones were also found at Kalibangan. That is there, Shubhankar. Yeah, so trephination is that. Then evidence of devastation by floods. So these are all the cities which were devastated by floods: Mohenjo-daro, Channudaro, Lothal. Absence of mother goddess figurines comes from Rangpur. So I have given you all the information here. I would say 90% of the matter, I would say that 90% of the information is contained in my PPTs. For the rest 10 to 15%, you can please read your read one textbook. R.S. Sharma for medieval India, Satish Chandra for, sorry, R.S. Sharma for ancient, and Satish Chandra for medieval. So to supplement your information. So 90%, I would say, is covered in my PPTs and in my class, right? Evidence of fire worship, comes from these sites. So go through it. Factual information, evidence of horse. So we know that the Harappans knew about the horse, but it was not extensively used. So the Harappans knew about the horse, but it was not extensively used. How the hole was done in the brain, Zeba, I don't know how the hole was made, but with a sharp instrument or a hammer, I'm sure that would be the way they would have done it, right? Some terms are difficult in R.S. Sharma's book. Sham, you please repeatedly revise, underline those words, highlight those words, and revise whatever you've read. When you're reading, mark the important sentences, underline them, and go back and read them. So that would be your revision, and then things will be easy for you. Kalibangan, no, Kalibangan literally means black bangle. Kalibangan literally means black bangle. That is true. Okay, so coastal towns, these are the coastal towns: Aladino, Balakot, Lothal, Indus ports, cemeteries, right? Then Harappan sites, in terms of size, I mentioned here, Rakigari is the largest Harappan site, followed by Mohenjo-daro, Ganveriwala, and Harappa. So these three are in Pakistan. Rakigari is in Haryana, as you know. So Haryana, Rakigari is the largest Harappan site. In India, which is the largest, Rakigari, and it's followed by Dholavira. Now, difference between Harappan and Mesopotamian civilizations and Egyptian civilization. So Harappans used to live in well-planned cities and towns. So we know that such a town planning is not present in either Mesopotamia or Egypt. Then you have rectangular houses made of bricks. You have also staircases in many of the Harappan houses. Such a town planning is not there. Every house had a well. Every house had a toilet in Harappan civilization. So such a design concept is not there in either Mesopotamia or Egypt. Then Harappans had their own pottery and seals, whereas these people, they don't have that, no unique aspect. Then Harappan script is very unique, whereas Mesopotamian script is called cuneiform script, and Egyptian script is called hieroglyphics. So both have been deciphered, Egyptian and Mesopotamian script, but not the Harappan script. So Harappan script, as you know, is found on clay tablets. Then Harappan script mostly on seals, that is clay tablets. Mesopotamians pressed their letters on moist clay tablets. Egyptians wrote on papyrus sheets made of reeds. No signs of existence after 1900 BC. Harappan civilization, there is no signs of existence after 1900 BC. We know for various reasons the Harappans abandoned their cities and went away to rural areas, whereas Egypt and Mesopotamia continued to last even after 1900 BC. spread over a wider area, the Harappan civilization, whereas it was less spread compared to Harappa, Egypt and Mesopotamia. Right? This is the differences. Post-Harappan phase, so here from 1800 BC to 1200 BC, we have the post-urban phase, also called sub-Indus culture or late Harappan culture. So Harappans, for various reasons, abandoned their cities and went away to rural areas. So they began to engage in agriculture, stock raising, okay, fishing, etc. So generally, people lived in villages. And late Harappan cultures are basically Chalcolithic cultures. So please understand, archaeologically, Chalcolithic is what? Stone copper age. So that precedes the Bronze Age. But in some parts of India, we see that the Chalcolithic age happened even after the Bronze Age, even after the Harappan Bronze Age. So that's what it is. What are the important post-Harappan sites? As you can see on your screen, these are the important post-Harappan sites. Bhagwanpura in Haryana, Chandigarh and Sangor in Punjab, Alamgirpur in UP, etc. So these are the important post-Harappan sites. Painted graveware, that is PGW, has been obtained from these sites. Painted graveware. Painted graveware is the standard pottery used by the Vedic Aryans. So this PGW is found in these sub-Indus phase. Right? So let us come to the questions. Yeah, Harappan's age is also called Bronze Age. That is true. I told you. Hole in head, it is one of the burial ritual or after death. No, Naveen, it is when the person was very much alive. When the person was very much alive, the hole was made. Not after the person had died. Okay. So which of the following animals was not represented? Read the question properly, Sandeep. Right? So which of the following animals was not represented in seals and terracotta art of Harappan sculpture? So cow was not represented. You can see elephant, rhino, tiger was represented on Harappan seals, but not cow. Then match the following. Lothal. So what is Lothal? Dockyard. Dockyard has been found. Kalibangan. We have found a plowed field in the pre-Harappan levels. Dholavira, an inscription comprising 10 large size signs of Harappan script. And Banavali, the terracotta replica of a plow has been found. So the answer is B. Okay, that is the answer. Then we'll go to the next question. Regarding the Indus Valley civilization, consider the following statements. 2011 UPSC asked this question. It was predominantly a secular civilization. What is secular civilization? And the religious element, though present, did not dominate the scene. Yes or no? Yes or no? It was predominantly a secular civilization, and the religious element, though present, did not dominate the scene. So here, Harappans worshipped many gods. They were not worshipping only one god. They used to worship Pashupati Mahadeva, Mother Goddess, trees, snake cult was there, fire altars have been found. So they worshipped many gods, male and female sexual organs. So therefore, it was predominantly a secular civilization. That is correct. And the religious element, though present, did not dominate the scene. So this statement is correct. During this period, cotton was used for manufacturing textiles in India. So we know this. Harappans were one of the earliest to produce cotton and use cotton clothes. So that is correct. Which of the statements given are correct? They're asking. So both 1 and 2 are correct. So underline the key word here. Both, which are correct, they're asking. Both are correct. Then 2013. Which of the following characterize the people of the Indus Valley civilization? They possessed great palaces and temples. So till now, as we have seen, we have no evidence of Harappans having palaces or building temples. So this is not correct. They worship both male and female deities. We know that is correct. They employed horse-drawn chariots in warfare. So we don't have any evidence of Harappans using horse-drawn chariots. They knew about the horse, but it was used on a very small scale, on a limited scale. Horse, not we don't have any evidence of they using horse-drawn chariots. So select the correct statement using the codes given below. So only 2 is correct. That is B. B is the answer for the 4th question, right? Which one of the following is not a Harappan site? So first of all, which are the Harappan sites? Channudaro is a Harappan site. You know this. Kot Deji is a Harappan site. Desalpur is a Harappan site, not Sohagaura. Sohagaura is a Mauryan site. So when we do Mauryan chapter, we'll talk about it. We have two inscriptions found in UP, Sohagaura and Mahastan inscriptions. Sohagaura and Mahastan inscriptions talk about the famine relief measures undertaken by the government of Chandragupta Maurya. So when there was a famine in the Mauryan Empire, what are the various ameliorative steps? How did the government of Chandragupta Maurya give succor to the people, relief to the people? That is there in the Sohagaura inscription and in the Mahastan inscription. Sohagaura in the Gorakhpur district of UP and Mahastan in the Pogra district of UP. So that is a Mauryan site, not a Harappan site. So that is the wrong and that is the right answer. Sohagaura, it is not a Harappan site. Clear? Then which of the following? See, I don't have the pool. I can launch a poll. I would have allowed you to answer the questions, no doubt about it. Point is, I don't have the time. I don't have the time because I have to cover ancient India syllabus is huge. So please, I expect your cooperation. I'm discussing the question paper. Of course, I have given the answers here. I did not have the time to remove them because I was always on the offline platform till now. So I did not have time to remove all those things. But then please understand, go back and read the textbook. And then when we give you tests, mock tests, when we give you, please attend those tests and keep taking tests every day. At least 30 minutes you spend on answering questions and then evaluate the question paper yourself. Online, offline, you have so many standard question banks. Okay. And whatever we test Byju's give, please attend them regularly. So which of the following were the important exports of the Indus Valley civilization? So textiles, we know they used to export textiles. So how do we know this? Cotton fiber, cotton cloth has been found in Mesopotamia. What about horses? Definitely not. Wine, no. Rice, also no. Jewelry, yes. Shell and bead industries have been found, isn't it? Harappans used to make shells, seashells, and various jewelry out of them, including beads. Beads of carnelian and other materials have been found. So they used to use the export textiles and jewelry. 1 and 5 is the answer for this question, right? Basavaraja, why rice was not exported? Because it was not extensively cultivated. They mainly produce wheat and barley. Yeah, Zeba, I told you, in some areas we see the Chalcolithic age happening even after the Bronze age, even after the Bronze Harappan age. So there was a certain amount of regression in terms of cultural development, material development, right? Then in Harappan cities, burnt bricks were used in what? Understand this very simple question. Burnt bricks. So wherever water is standing, where there is always water present, Harappans have used burnt bricks because burnt bricks, they are solid, they are much more stronger, they'll hold the building together and they'll not allow the water to leak. So they have used burnt bricks wherever there is water stagnating or standing. Dockyard, you have water always there. Drains, they have used burnt bricks, and Great Bath. These are the three places where the Harappans have used burnt bricks: dockyard, drains, and Great Bath. Right? That's the answer. C is the answer for that. Which of the following animals are not found? Look at the question properly. Are not found on the Pashupati seal. So first of all, you just find out what do you know. What are the animals found on the Pashupati seal? Elephant, tiger, rhino, buffalo, 2 deer. So look at that. Lion is not there. Deer is there, we know. Tiger is there. Elephant is there. Bull is not there. Buffalo is there. So which is not found? Lion and bull, 1 and 5. Right? B. Jagani, it is C, 1 and 5. So not found, they're asking. Then which one of the following ancient towns is well known for its elaborate system of water harvesting and management by building a series of dams and channelizing water into connected reservoirs? So answer is Dholavira. 2021 UPSC asked this question. Dholavira, we have found reservoirs, and from that we can understand that the Harappans knew about canal irrigation. Right. Now, two questions have appeared from the mains from this topic. Write about the chief features of the town planning in the Indus Valley civilization. Write about the chief features of town planning in the Indus Valley civilization. So they're asking about town planning. Underline the keywords. So you can write this question in 200 to 250 words and send it to us. So you write a general introduction. Okay, introduction in about 3 to 5 lines, 3 to 4 lines you can write. Then the body of the question. Body. So how do you approach writing questions? You brainstorm. First brainstorm. That is not in a particular order. Whatever thought comes to you about that topic, you read the question properly, underline the keywords, and then think about the town planning of the Harappans. So whatever idea comes to you, you jot down randomly. Okay, and then you name and then you number them. I'll write this first, then this second, this third, like that. Then you start writing, and then you give a conclusion. So this is how you approach. Look at the second question. To what extent has the urban planning and culture of the Indus Valley civilization provided inputs to present day urbanization? That is how present day urbanization has been influenced by the urban planning and culture of the Indus Valley civilization. 2014 UPSC asked this question. So try to make an attempt and mail the answers to us. I'll take some time, but I'll evaluate and I'll give the feedback. Okay, so here it's a mixture. Abhishek, sir, ancient history comes in mains. Ancient history can also be asked in the art and culture section. This is actually an art and culture section question, but then this is from the Indus civilization topic, right? So when I do art and culture later, town planning, as part of art and architecture, I will not cover town planning and culture of the Harappans because I've already covered it in an extensive manner here in this particular class. So what we'll do is we'll go for a small break, about 10-15 minutes, 10 minutes break until 8 o'clock, and we'll come back and do the next chapter, that is Vedic period, right? PPTs will be shared with you, Nikki, don't worry. PPTs will be shared with you. So we'll go to the Vedic period after a small break, come back at 8 o'clock, and we will continue this. Good morning once again. Am I audible and visible? Great. Yeah, thank you. So let's begin this topic, Vedic period, very interesting topic. Now, what do you know about this Vedic period? Any insights regarding Vedic period? Yeah, good morning, Anupalli. Any insights regarding Vedic period? Sham says Vedas. No idea? Vedas were composed. Okay. So that's why it's called Vedic period. Anything else? 4 Vedas, profession-based society. Okay, Shubham says that. Surya, Sanskrit was prominent. Okay. Sanskrit, okay, script, Chandu, worship nature. Manish, so start with 0. Okay, no problem, Manish. Early and later Vedic period and their differences. We'll come to that, Zeba. Varnas, egalitarian society, religion. Okay. So some of you know something about this topic. Now look here. Let me try to put things in the right perspective here. Now, Vedic period. Vedic period. Now, why is it called Vedic period? It's called Vedic period because the main source of information for the study of this period are the Vedas. So we rely entirely on Vedic literature. We rely entirely on Vedic literature for the study of this period. Which means to say, we have hardly any archaeological sources. There are hardly any archaeological sources for the reconstruction of history of this period. Okay, now look here. Harappan civilization, we rely entirely on archaeology. We don't have any literary sources, written records as regards the Harappans. Of course, we get to know a little bit about the civilization from the Mesopotamians. But then we rely entirely on archaeology for reconstructing the history of the Harappans. For the Vedic period, we rely entirely on Vedic literature because we hardly have any archaeological sources. Therefore, it is called Vedic period. Okay. Now, this Vedic period, what is the time period? 1500 to 600 BC. Vedic period, 1500 to 600 BC. Now, the next question is, who are the authors of the Vedas? Who are the ones who composed the Vedas or the authors of the Vedas? Any idea? Aryans. Okay, good. So, the Aryans are the people who are supposed to have composed the Vedas. They were the ones who composed the Vedas, the Aryans. So the next question is, who are these Aryans? Who are these Aryans? That is the next question. And we have some scholars who tell us that they came from outside India. So we have a foreign origin theory. We have a foreign origin theory as regards the Aryans. And then there is the indigenous theory. Some historians say that they were indigenous to this country. They were locals. They did not come from outside India. So let us look at that directly. On your screen, you can see here. These are the various scholars who say that they came from a foreign land. For example, Penka. Penka says that Aryans came from Germany. So that's what Penka felt. Max Muller, he says they came from Central Asia. Giles and MacDonald, Austria-Hungary region. Dayananda Saraswati, the founder of the Arya Samaj. He said Tibet, that they came from Tibet. And Bal Gangadhar Tilak says they came from the Arctic region. So these are the scholars who tell us that they came from outside India. Central Asia, Germany, Austria-Hungary region, Tibet, etc. Then there are another group of historians, scholars, who say that they were indigenous to this country. So on your screen, you can see this. A.C. Das, Sampurnanand. They say they came from the Sapta Sindhu region. That is a land of 7 rivers consisting of Sindhu, that is Indus River, the 5 eastern tributaries, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, Satluj, and Saraswati, totally 7 rivers. So Indus, its 5 tributaries or eastern tributaries, and Saraswati. That's called Sapta Sindhu region. So they were from this region according to these two historians, A.C. Das, Sampurnanand. D.S. Kala says Kashmir and Himalayas. Ganganath Jha says Brahmarishi Desha between the rivers Saraswati and Rishadwati. And D.S. Trivedi says Devika region, that is Multan Sindh region, which is now in Pakistan. So we have divergent opinions as regards the original homeland of the Aryans. But please understand the consensus of opinion. The consensus of opinion among scholars is that the Aryans came from this large area called Eurasia. Understand this? They came from this area called Eurasia. Now, what is this Eurasia? This large area from southern Russia to Central Asia. This has been called Eurasia, southern Russia to Central Asia. Now, generally, the nucleus, so they lived in this large area called Eurasia, southern Russia to Central Asia. But generally, the focal point, the focal place where they came from is considered to be Central Asia. This was the theory given by Max Muller. Max Muller says they came from Central Asia. And generally, this theory of Max Muller has been accepted by most of the historians. Okay, so they were living in this large area. I'll show you the picture. You can see here. This is the area. On your screen, you can see this is supposed to be Eurasia. This area from southern Russia to Central Asia, right? They were living in this region, the Aryans. Now, what were they doing here? The next question is, what were they doing there? So they were basically pastoralists. That is, cattle was their main source of wealth. Animal husbandry. They were engaging in animal husbandry when they were living in this large area called Eurasia or Central Asia. So they were pastoralists. Cows and pastures. Cows and pasture. What is pasture? Grasslands. Green grasslands, pastures. So cows and pastures were their main source of wealth available. So they considered that as their main source of wealth. Now, what is it? So this is a theory. Please understand the theory here. Now, they were living in this large area called Eurasia. They were pastoralists. Animal husbandry was their main occupation. So what happened, I believe, the population of the Aryans increased. The population of the Aryans increased. The population of their cattle also increased. And around 2000 BC, there was a global change in the weather. So throughout the world, there was a change in the weather. And this region called Eurasia was not able to sustain the growing population of the Aryans and that of their cattle. So there was a rapid depletion of pastures. There was hardly any grasslands available for their cattle because of a global change in the weather. So therefore, it is said that the Aryans, along with their cattle, began to migrate to different parts of the earth. So along with their cattle, in search of fresh pastures, they began to migrate to different parts of the earth. One branch went towards Europe. They went up to Ireland in Europe. They went to Ireland in Europe. Okay, understand this. This is not important from the exam point of view. Whatever I'm telling you, this is important for you to understand this topic called Vedic period. Once you understand the background, the preview, then we'll come to the topic proper, right? And the rest is all factual. But then you understand this aspect, why they came. This is what the historians believe. Most of the historians believe. Of course, there is a section of historians who don't believe in this theory. They say it's rubbish. But then this is there in the standard history textbooks, and that's what I'm conveying that to you. This is not my history. This is what is interpreted by historians. So that's what I'm presenting before you. Now, there was a global change in the weather. They were basically living in that large region called Eurasia, that is southern Russia to Central Asia. The population of the Aryans had increased. The population of their cattle had increased. There was a rapid depletion of the grasslands because of the global change in the weather, and therefore they began to migrate to different parts of the earth along with their cattle. So one branch of the Aryans went up to Europe, up to Ireland in Europe. Another branch of the Aryans, along with their cattle, went to West Asia, went towards West Asia, that is your Iraq, Israel, Palestine area. So they went towards that area. And another branch of the Aryans came to India. They came to India. And this branch of Aryans who came to India, on the way, stopped over in Iran for some time. So they lived in Iran or Persia for some time. From Iran, they entered Afghanistan and they lived in Afghanistan for some time. And from Afghanistan, they entered India. So via Iran and Afghanistan, one branch of the Aryans entered India. Okay. Now, this is the theory. Now, are you there with me? Sakshi, I will just hold on. So what I said is, this is called Vedic period because entirely we rely on Vedic literature. Shakshi says she had some network issue, so she could not understand, and she could not reach the. She could not get whatever I was telling. So I'll just tell it for her. So here the Aryans were living in. So what I said is this period is called Vedic period is because the main source of information for the study of this period are the Vedas. We hardly have any archaeological sources for the reconstruction of the history of this period. Now, who are the authors of the Vedas? Supposedly the Aryans. So next question is, who are the Aryans? So the theory goes that basically Aryans were living in this large area called Eurasia, that is from southern Russia to Central Asia. And there was a global change in the weather around 2000 BC. When they were living in Eurasia, they were pastoralists. Animal husbandry was their main occupation. So the population of the Aryans had increased, the population of their cattle had increased. And because of the rapid depletion of the grasslands in that area, in search of fresh pastures for their cattle, the Aryans began to migrate to different parts of the earth. One branch went towards Europe, another branch towards West Asia, another branch came to India. But while coming to India, they stopped in Iran for some time, and then Afghanistan, and then entered India. Now, did you get me that? Yeah, Sakshi. So we'll continue now. Look here. Now, how do the historians justify or prove that this is the route taken by the Aryans? This is the route taken by the Aryans. Now, look here. The Aryans were nature worshippers. So the Aryans were nature worshippers. They did not understand why there is sun in the sky, why there is a moon in the sky, why there is thunder, lightning, rain, etc. So what the Aryans did, I believe, is they began to personify these natural forces. They gave names to these natural forces: Indra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, Nasatyas, Rudra, etc. So they gave names to these natural forces. They composed hymns, shloks, poems in praise of these gods, and they began to worship them. Right? So we have the Aryans, we have in the Rig Veda, we have the names of these gods. Understand this: Indra, Agni, Varuna, Vayu, Nasatyas, etc. Now, Rig Veda was composed by Aryans in India, but then very surprisingly, we have the oldest textbook of Iran. we have this oldest text of Iran or Persia that is called Zend-Avesta. Look here, I'll use another ink. We have this text called Zend-Avesta. Zend-Avesta. In the Zend-Avesta, which is the oldest textbook of Iran, we also have the references to these gods. These gods have been mentioned in the Zend-Avesta: Indra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, Nasatyas. So historians say, how did the Zend-Avesta come to know about the names of these Aryan gods unless the Aryans had stayed in Iran for some time? समझ में आ रहा है ना? This is the theory. They say that Zend-Avesta is mentioning the names of these gods. So how did the Zend-Avesta come to know? Zend-Avesta came to know about these gods because Aryans were living in Iran for some time. This is one aspect. Okay, now we said that the Aryans from Iran moved into Afghanistan and they lived in Afghanistan for some time before they moved into India. Now, how do historians justify this, that they stayed in Afghanistan for some time? Now, look here. I'll use another page. Or shall I use it here? Wait, I'll use another page. Or it may get erased. No, thank God. Okay, now look here. We have the river Indus. And the Indus has eastern and western tributaries. So, eastern tributaries, western tributaries of the Indus. Eastern tributaries of the Indus flow in India and Pakistan. यहाँ पे देखिए India and Pakistan. So eastern tributaries flow in India and Pakistan. What are the eastern tributaries of the Indus? Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias, and Satluj. These are the eastern tributaries of the Indus which flow in Afghanistan. And what are the Vedic equivalent names? These are the modern names. Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias, Satluj. So what are the equivalent names? Jhelum, Vitasta, Chenab, Asikini, Ravi, Purushni, Bias, Vipasa, Satluj, Satudri. Now, so these are the Vedic names of these rivers which flow in which flow in India and Pakistan. These are the eastern tributaries of the Indus. So since the Aryans came into India, they were familiar with the eastern tributaries of the Indus. Now, very surprisingly, the Rig Veda also mentions the western tributaries of the Indus which flow in Afghanistan. यहाँ पे देखिए, western tributaries of Indus flow in Afghanistan. So what are the western tributaries of the Indus? Gomal, that is your Gomti river. Kubha, Kabul river. Swat river, that is Suvastu. So Gomal, Gomti, Kuba, Kabul, Suvastu, Swat river. Then Krumu, Khurram. So the Rig Veda mentions not only the eastern tributaries of the Indus, which flow in India and Pakistan, it also mentions the western tributaries of the Indus, which flow in Afghanistan. So how did the Rig Veda? Rig Veda was composed by Aryans in India. How did the Aryans know about the western tributaries of the Indus unless they stayed in Afghanistan for some time? Did you understand here? Parushni, Bhavana, Parushni. It is there in the PPT, don't worry. It's there in the textbook. So Aryans entered Iran, they stayed in Iran for some time. And how do we know this? Because the Zend-Avesta also mentions the names of the Vedic gods worshipped by the Aryans. Now, they entered Afghanistan and lived in Afghanistan for some time. How do we know this? Because the Rig Veda not only mentions the eastern tributaries of the Indus, It also mentions the western tributaries of the Indus, which flow in India, which flow in Afghanistan. Right now, look here. Right now, this is the theory. Now, this is literary evidence we have. This is how literary evidence supports this theory of the path taken by the Aryans into India. That is, from Central Asia, they entered Iran. From Iran, they entered Afghanistan. And from Afghanistan, they entered India. Now, we have philology. Look here. What is philology? Philology is the study of comparative languages. Philology is a study of comparative languages. Philology also supports this theory. Now, let us understand this. There was one 16th century Italian philologist. What was his name? Filippo Sessetti. Filippo Sessetti. He was a 16th century Italian philologist. So, being a philologist, he knew all the principal languages of the world. So, उसको क्या पता था? English पता था. He knew English. He knew Latin. He knew German. He knew Persian. Right? He knew Sanskrit because he was a philologist. And Filippo Sassetti was shocked to notice, he was surprised and shocked and flabbergasted actually to notice that there are some words in all these languages whose meanings are the same. There are some words in all these languages whose meanings are the same. So let me give you an example. I have given only one example in the PPT, but there are many more examples, but that's not necessary. Look here on your screen. In English, mother, no, ma ko English में mother बोलते हैं, right? All know. Then Sanskrit, matra or matru. In Persian and Latin, mother is called mater. In German, muta, mother is called muta. And in Greek language, mitor. So Filippo Sessetti came to the conclusion. So you can understand these words rhyme with each other. Their meanings are the same. Mother in English, mater in Sanskrit, Persian in Latin, it is mater, mutter in Germany, and mitor in Greek, all referring to the word mother. So Filippo Sessetti came to the conclusion that these languages have arisen from one mother language. He says all these languages, English, Latin, German, Persian, Sanskrit, have arisen from one mother language. Okay. And we have this scholar called William Jones. Understand this. William Jones called this mother language as Indo-European. His mother language was called, I'll use another page. So you have William Jones. William Jones was the founder of the Asiatic Society of Bengal. William Jones, 1784, established the Asiatic Society of Bengal. So William Jones called this mother language as Indo-European. So he called this mother language as Indo-European. This is number one. Number two, Max Muller. He was a German Indologist. What is the meaning of Indologist? Indologist is somebody. Indologist means somebody who takes interest in India's history, culture, literature, philosophy, etc. So Max Muller, a German Indologist, called this mother language as Aryan. He called this mother language as Aryan languages. Number three, we have a German scholar called Pinka. He gave a racial connotation to this word called Aryan. So he gave a racial connotation. He says, this Pinka, he gave a racial connotation. He says that people who speak these languages, that is English, Sanskrit, Latin, German, Persian, etc., look similar. दिखने में एक जैसे है. They look similar. They are tall. They are fair. They have a radiant complexion, blonde hair, sharp features. Okay, aquiline features, sharp nose. Eyes are colorful and blue, green. Right? So they look similar. He says generally, Penka. So he gave a racial connotation to the word Aryan. But the word Aryan only means language and people who speak a group of languages. Just as the word Dravidian means language and people who speak a group of languages. But the word Aryan and Dravidian is used carelessly. North Indians are all Aryans, South Indians are all Dravidians. No, it has nothing to do with looks. It has got to do with language. So William Jones called this mother language as Indo-European language. Max Muller called this mother language as Aryan. And Penka gave a racial connotation to the word Aryan, saying that all the people who speak all these languages like Sanskrit, English, Persian, German look similar. But the word Aryan only refers to language and people who speak a group of languages. So this is the theory. Are you there with me? All clear? Can I move on? Now look here. The Aryans, so we saw this from Central Asia, they stayed in Iran for some time. And from Iran, they entered Afghanistan. And from Afghanistan, they entered India. Now, यहाँ पे देखिए, when they entered India, they saw a huge river, which they called Sindhu. So they saw a huge river. They called this river Sindhu. Sindhu. That is a huge sheet of water, So let us understand now how the name India has come about. How the name India has come about. Now, the Aryans entered India, they saw a huge river and they called this river as Sindhu. Right? Or a huge sheet of water. In the path of their migration, they had never seen a huge river, a gigantic river of this size. So they called that river as Sindhu in their language. Now, this area where the Sindhu flows, was later conquered by the Persians. So you have a Persian king. Persia is Iran. So there was a Persian king called Darius the First. In 516 BC, he conquers this area where the Sindhu river flowed. Now, the Persians had a problem in pronouncing the letter Sa. So when they tried to say Sa, Sindhu, from their mouth came out Hindu. So for the Persians, this river became Hindu. Okay, and the people who were living on the banks of this river became Hindus. And the land where the river flowed came to be called Hindustan. So Persians had a problem in pronouncing the letter Sa. So for them, that river became Hindu. The people living on the banks of that river became Hindus, and the land where the river flows became Hindustan. Later in our history, we have Alexander coming into the country, 326 BC, Greeks. 326 BC, Alexander came. And Alexander conquered this region called Sindh also. The Greeks called this river as Indus in their language. They called this river as Indus. So the Aryans called it as Sindhu. The Persians called it as Hindu. The Greeks called it as Indus. Later, we have the British. The British came and they called this country India after the name of the river Indus. So, after the name of the river Indus, they called this country as India. Otherwise, in the Vedas, this country, Our country is called Bharata Varsha. Bharata Varsha, which is part of the 7 concentric islands called Jambudvipa. So it's part of this Jambudvipa, and our country is called Bharatavarsha. So this is the origin of the name India. Now, are you there with me? Filippo Sassetti was an Italian philologist, and he um, was the one who knew many languages, I told you, and he was surprised to notice that there are some words in all these languages whose meanings mean the same. Now look here. Now look here. Now, taking Filippo Sassetti's argument a little further, now what we can say is, how do we justify? How does philology justify the fact that Aryans took this route? Now look here. You have the Aryans living in this area, isn't it? They were living in this area called Eurasia or Central Asia, and from there they migrated to different parts of the earth. Now, when they were living in this area, they were communicating through a language, a common language. They were speaking a common language. So when they began to migrate to different parts of the earth along with their cattle, they took that language also along with them. They were speaking a mother language. So they took that language along with them. And when they went to Europe or to West Asia or to India, they took that language along with them. But there were already people living in those areas who spoke other languages. There were already people living in Europe, in West Asia, etc., who were already speaking other languages. So this mother language spoken by the Aryans got mixed up with the local languages, and over a period of time, it was lost. But some words which are used on a daily basis, like mother, father, so these are very common words used on a daily basis. These words have remained in all these languages. So the mother language spoken by the Aryans was lost, but some words which are used on a daily basis, on a frequent basis, have remained in all these languages. So this way, philology also supports this theory. Did you understand? So how Bharata Varsha came to exist? I told Dhyana, in the Vedic period, in the Vedic literature, this area, this country is called Bharata Varsha, okay, which is part of the 7 concentric islands called Jambudvipa. There's no word called India in the Vedic literature. It is Bharata Varsha. Okay, now let me move on. So Aryans, when they came into India, look here, they lived in this area. So you have, I told you, they saw a huge river. They call it as what? Sindhu. So there is Sindhu here. Then there is Satlaj, Satudri, Yamuna, and Ganga. So they began to live in this area between the Satlaj in the west and Yamuna in the east. And this area came to be called Sapta Sindhu region. Sapta Sindhu region. So when they entered India, they saw a huge river. They call it as Sindhu. But the Aryans, for the first 500 years, that is from 1500 to 1000 BC, the Aryans stayed in this region called Sapta Sindhu region. So what is Sapta Sindhu region? This is nothing but the Indus or the Sindhu, its 5 eastern tributaries, that is Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias, and Satlaj, and Saraswati. Okay, so Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias, and Satlaj. So this is called the land of 7 rivers, Sapta Sindhu Pradesh. So they lived for the first 500 years in this region, and only one book gives information about the life of the Aryans in these first 500 years of their existence in the Sapta Sindhu region. That is called Rig Veda. So only one book gives information about the first 500 years of the life of the Aryans in the Sapta Sindhu region. So this period is also called Rig Vedic period or early Vedic period. This period is also called Rig Vedic period or early Vedic period. So from the Rig Veda, what do we know about the geographical knowledge of the Aryans? When they came into the country, what was the geographical knowledge of the Rig Vedic Aryans? So what was their geographical knowledge? How was their political structure? How was their society? How was their economy? So from one book we come to know everything about the early life of the Aryans who were living in the Sapta Sindhu region. And that book is called Rig Veda. Therefore, this period is also called Rig Vedic period or early Vedic period. This is the introduction to this topic. Did you understand? What is written after Sindhu? Sapta Sindhu region. Can I move on? Great. Any doubts? Yeah, Aryavarta is the land of Aryans. That's called Aryavarta. Okay. Name of the river on the west. So you just refer to the PPTs. It is there, Sahil. Western tributaries of the Indus. I'll come back here. I'll go to the PPTs directly. We can run through this. You can see here. So we have the Vedic period divided into two parts. Totally, Vedic period is from 1500 to 600 BC, right? We have the Vedic period divided into two parts. Early Vedic period or Rig Vedic period, 1500 to 1000 BC, and later Vedic period. We'll come to later Vedic period later. We will do the Vedic period today, the early Vedic period today, right? So, origin or advent of the Aryans. So as I told you, Aryan is not a racial term, but it is a linguistic term. Basically from southern Russia or Eurasia, and there was an ecological change around 2000 BC, and the Aryans began to migrate to different parts of the earth. They were made up of many tribes, the Aryans, right? So Aryans are described in the Vedas as a race of tall people having white skin, radiant complexion, and fair hair. So I have explained all these things. Go through it, and then we'll come back here. So they were living in this area called Eurasia or Central Asia. I told you around 2000 BC, there was a global change in the weather, and they began to migrate to different parts of the earth. You can see those arrow marks. So they began to migrate from that area to different parts of the earth. One branch came towards India, right? So Filippo Sessetti is the Italian philologist who studied many languages, and he felt that all these languages like English, Sanskrit, Persian, Latin, German, Greek have arisen from one mother language, and that mother language was called Indo-European by William Jones. Max Muller called it as Aryan. Penka gave a racial connotation to that word Aryan by stating that people who speak all these languages, Sanskrit, English, Latin, Persian, etc., look similar. They're fair, they're tall, etc. But the word Aryan refers to language only. It doesn't have any racial connotation. Then we looked at the foreign origin theory of the Aryans, indigenous origin theory, but the most acceptable theory is that of Max Muller. Most of the historians agree to what Max Muller said, that they came from Central Asia. And I told you what is the reason why they came. So only Rig Veda gives information about the first 500 years of the life of the Aryans. Therefore, this period is also called Rig Vedic period, also called early Vedic period. It is also called early Vedic period. So when they came into the country, they were living in the Sapta Sindhu region. On your screen, you can see that arrow mark is there. You can see there, they came into India like this, I believe, right? And they were living in the Sapta Sindhu region. What is Sapta Sindhu region? यहाँ पे देखिए on your screen, Sindhu, Satudri, then Yamuna and Ganga. For our convenience, I have mentioned the rivers like this. Not necessary that they're flowing in this direction and in this manner. But the Aryans began to live between the Satluj in the west and Yamuna in the east. And this area came to be called Sapta Sindhu region. Sapta Sindhu region, right? Yeah, Rig Veda was written in Sanskrit. That is true. But please understand, the Vedic Aryans were illiterate. The Vedic Aryans were illiterate. So whatever they composed was orally composed and transmitted orally. So they had a brilliant way of remembering things. That is called Sutra style, condensed prose style intended for memorization. So Vedas were composed orally, they were not written. So the Vedic Aryans had no knowledge of writing. Harappans knew how to read and write, but not the Vedic Aryans. So during the Vedic period, there was no written document because the Aryans did not know how to read and write. Whatever they heard, they transmitted orally to their students and disciples. Right. Look here. Geographical knowledge of Rig Vedic Aryans. Sindhu, Satlaj, Yamuna, Ganga. Now, so we'll study all these things. What from the Rig Veda, what information we get about the geographical knowledge of Rig Vedic Aryans? What was their geographical knowledge of India when they came into the country? How was the political structure of the Aryans when they were living in the Sapta Sindhu region for 500 years? How was their political arrangement, society, economy, religion? Now look here. Geographical knowledge of Rig Vedic Aryans. So when they came into the country, they knew about the Himalayas, okay, because we have some of the Himalayan peaks mentioned. So what, for example, they knew about Himalayas, and we have some of the peaks mentioned in the Rig Veda, like Silament, Mujavant, Arjika, etc. So the Aryans are familiar with the Himalayas, right? Then they had no knowledge of Thar Desert. They had no knowledge of the Thar Desert, which is in Rajasthan. Why they had no knowledge? Because they had not gone there. So the Rig Veda doesn't mention about any desert. Then we have a word called Samudra. In the Rig Veda, there's a word called Samudra. It only refers to confluence of rivers. What is confluence? Sangam of rivers, when two or more rivers join together. So here, Samudra did not denote ocean. They had not seen the sea, the Bay of Bengal or the Arabian Sea or the Indian Ocean. They were confined to the Sapta Sindhu region. But there is a word called Samudra in the Rig Veda. It only refers to a Sangama of rivers or a confluence of rivers. It did not indicate ocean at all, right? Then, of course, we spoke about it. They knew about the eastern and the western tributaries of the Indus. Eastern and the western tributaries. Eastern tributaries flow in India and Pakistan, right? So they call this river as Sindhu. And what are the western tributaries? They flow in Afghanistan. So they knew about the western and eastern tributaries of the Indus, right? This is pretty much the geographical knowledge of Rig Vedic Aryans. You can see here, Vedic people never went beyond the Yamuna in the east. So they never went beyond the Yamuna in the east. There's only one reference to the river Ganga. We'll come to that. So they settled in the area deserted by the erstwhile Indus people. The land between the Satluj in the west and Yamuna in the east is called Sapta Sindhu region. We have the Vedas mentioning Nadistuti. What is Nadistuti? Eastern and western tributaries of the Indus. Western tributaries flow in Afghanistan. I've already discussed this. Gomal, Gomati, Kuba, Kabul River, Suvastu, Swat, Krumu, Khurram. Then eastern tributaries flow in India and Pakistan. These are the eastern tributaries. Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bia, Satlaj. Vitasta, Asikini, Parushni, Vipasa, Satudri. Saraswati is mentioned. Saraswati is called by various names in the Rig Veda. Saptati, Sindhu Mata, Devitame, Ambitame, like that. The Zendavesta calls Saraswati as Arkavati also. Right. So this is the Sapta Sindhu region. So Max Muller, as I told you, says that Indus, its 5 eastern tributaries, and Saraswati constitute what is known as the Sapta Sindhu system. Sapta Sindhu means the land of 7 rivers. Indus, its 5 eastern tributaries, and Saraswati. And this concept was given by Max Muller, the German Indologist. Himalayas are mentioned and some of its peaks. The word Samudra, I told you, refers to only confluence of rivers. It doesn't indicate any ocean as such. They had not seen the sea. They did not know about desert also, like the Thar desert. This is the geographical knowledge of Rigvedic Aryans, and there's only one reference to the Ganga. So Ganga river is mentioned only one time in the Rig Veda. What does it mean? It means that the Aryans had known about the Ganga, but not many people were going and living on the banks of the Ganga. But not many people were living on the banks of the Ganga. They knew about the Ganga, though. This is the geographical knowledge of Rig Vedic Aryans. Am I clear? Can I move on? It was penned much later, around the 7th century BC. You have the Aryans developing a script and they began to write that. But initially, it was transmitted through the medium of, transmitted orally. Okay. Samudra meant only a confluence of rivers, not Sagar. Sandeep, can you tell me about Sagar? I did not understand your question. Can you be more specific? You mean Hindu Mahasagar, Arabian Sea? No, they have a script. No, Jagani, no. I told you they did not know how to read and write. All the knowledge was transmitted orally. Okay. So Samudra meant only a confluence of rivers. Did not indicate the sea. Right. Now let us come. We'll move on here. So here the Rigvedic sites. They are non-iron PGW sites. So what is the meaning of this non-iron PGW sites? See, what is the pottery of the Harappans called? The pottery of the Harappans is called black on red ware, isn't it? Black on red ware. Harappans used to paint their pots in red and they used to make designs in black. So Harappan pottery is called black on red ware. What is the most important pottery of the Vedic Aryans? Painted grey ware. Painted grey ware. They were painted in grey color. The pots, painted grey ware. Therefore, it is called PGW. PGW. This is the most distinctive pottery of the Vedic Aryans. And this was a phase when the Aryans did not know about iron. They knew about copper and bronze, not iron. So this is a non-iron PGW phase, right? So people basically were pastoralists. They were going from place to place in search of grass for their cattle. So they did not live a settled life. So hardly any archaeological evidence is there. Because if they were living in a particular place, they would have left some evidence of they having lived in that place. So what are the important Rigvedic sites? Bhagwanpura, Daderi, Nagar, Manda, Katpalan, etc. Okay, so this is in the region of present day Punjab and Haryana regions. Okay, we'll come back here. Let us talk about the political arrangement of the Aryans. Let us talk about the political arrangement of the Aryans. Now look here. So Jyoti, the thing is, Max Muller tells us that the Aryans in India, when they came to India, developed Sanskrit, and all the other principal languages of Europe were developed by the people in those areas. When the Aryans went there, they developed those principal languages. But Sanskrit was developed in India by the Aryans when they came into the country, and it was transmitted orally, and later a script came to be evolved and then written down. Yeah, Rig Veda is considered to be the oldest book in world history. Yes, Rig Veda. It was composed initially orally and later it was written down. So it is one of the first example of the Indo-European language, and also it was the oldest textbook, the oldest text in world history. That is right, Zeba. Now we'll come back here. What was the political arrangement of the Rig Vedic Aryans? So when they came into India, they were living in the Sapta Sindhu region. How was their political arrangement like? Now look here. The Aryans, so how was the Rig Vedic polity? The Aryans were divided into a number of tribes. The Aryans were divided into a number of tribes. into a number of tribes. Every tribe was headed by a leader, by a chief. So every tribe had a chief or a leader, and this chief or a leader was elected by the tribe. So the tribal chief was elected by the members of the tribe. So what is the meaning of this? We have democratic elements in a tribal polity. Democratic elements are seen in a tribal polity because the tribal chief was elected by the members of the tribe. So the Aryans were divided into a number of tribes. Every tribe was headed by a leader or a chief who was elected by the tribe. Right? Generally, he was an experienced person. He was not an old man, but he was an experienced person, middle-aged person. So he's also called Pramukha. Pramukha or Jeshtha. In Hindi, Jeshtha is, elderly person, Jeshtha. So he's also called Pramukha or Jeshtha. But generally, the tribal chief was called Rajan. So he was the head of the tribe and he was elected by the people of the tribe. So he was called Rajan. Right? Then, what was the duty of the Rajan? The duty of the Rajan was to protect the tribe. His duty was to protect the tribe and its cattle wealth and protect the cattle wealth. Cattle was considered to be more important. Cattle was their main form of wealth. The Aryans were Banjaras, they were nomads going from one place to another place. They were not living in one place. So, cattle was their main source of wealth, not land or anything, because the concept of a territory had not come into existence. They were pastoralists going from one place to another place. Whenever the grassland got depleted or was getting depleted, slowly they will move on to another place where there is plenty of grass available for their cattle. So the main duty of the Rajan was to protect the tribe and its cattle wealth. Now he prayed to gods. The Rajan prayed to gods for three things: Praja, Pashu, and Dhana. He prayed to gods for Praja. What is Praja here? Mainly sons. If children be born, let more sons be born. If children be born, let more sons be born, not daughters. Let more sons be born to the tribe. Pashu, we'll come to that. We'll understand why the Rajan prayed to gods for Praja, mainly sons. Pashu, cattle. And Dhana, wealth. So he prayed to gods for Praja, Pashu, Dhana. Now, why sons? Why there was a love for sons? Anybody can answer that? Dhyana. Dhyana, thing is, it is believed, so Vedic literature is divided into two parts. When I do art and culture, we have a topic called literature. We will discuss that in detail. You see, it is believed that the Vedas were divinely revealed knowledge. The gods are supposed to have revealed the knowledge of the Vedas to the saints, to the sages, through the medium of sound. Through the medium of sound. That's called Ashrirvani. Ashrirvani. Ashrirvani is Ashriravani, that is through the medium of sound, they revealed the knowledge of the Vedas to the sages. The sages recorded whatever they heard from the gods through in their mind, and then they transmitted that knowledge to the disciples, to the other people. The same explanation is there in the Holy Quran. Prophet Muhammad, I believe, used to worship he used to meditate in a cave in Makkah. So he used to often go to this cave and meditate there. So one day he heard the voice of God, Allah. And Allah was conveying some message to Prophet Muhammad. So Prophet Muhammad, while he was meditating, heard the voice of God, Allah. Then he came back and he uh, asked his students to write whatever he was dictating. So from his whatever he recorded in his mind about what Allah had conveyed it to him, he got it written from his students. That is the Holy Quran. It is considered to be the word of God, Allah. The same explanation is there regarding the Vedas. Vedas are thousands of years old. Islam was born only in the 7th century AD, whereas Vedas are thousands of years old. So Vedic literature is divided into Shruti and Smriti. Shruti is divinely revealed knowledge. The four Vedas, Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, they are all considered to be divinely revealed knowledge. We'll come to that later. So here, the Rajan's duty was to protect the tribe and its cattle wealth. Then why did he pray for sons, not daughters? Anybody can answer that? A conquering, great and maintaining cattle head. Son can be a successor, but daughter can't. No. To protect cattle from external dangers. Okay, Sham, you're partly right. Now look here. The Aryans were nomads going from one place to another place. Okay, so from a familiar place, they might be migrating to a not so familiar place, along with their cattle, children, women. They're migrating. So some other tribe might attack the Aryans. They might attack their tribe. They might try to harm their women, steal their women, harm the children. So if there are more sons in the tribe, they will be in a better position to defend themselves. If there are more males in the tribe, they'll be in a better position to defend themselves. So that is the reason why the Rajan asked gods to bestow more sons upon the tribe and not daughters. Unfortunately, this aspect has got distorted down the generations in our country. Aryans desired sons for their own reasons, but unfortunately, down the ages, there's a love for sons or a desire to have more male children or sons than daughters for other reasons. It has got distorted, as you all know. Now we'll come back here. So the duty of the Rajan was to protect the tribe and its cattle wealth. Now, the bureaucracy was very simple during this period. That is, the Rajan was assisted by a very simple bureaucracy. Who are the officers? We have a Purohita. You have a Purohit, the priest, the Senapati, commander, Vrajapati in charge of pasture lands, um, Jiva Griba or Ugra, who was the police official. Then you have a Duta, messenger. Then right. So these are some of the officials who assisted the Rajan in the discharge of his duties. Now, what was the main source of income for the Rajan? The main source of income for the Rajan was Bali. What is Bali? Voluntary offering. Voluntary offering. That's called Bali. And war booty. War booty. What's war booty? One Aryan tribe will fight against another Aryan tribe. And if the other Aryan tribe is defeated, they'll loot and plunder everything and bring. That's called war booty. So this was the main source of income for the Rajan. Bali is a voluntary offering. So anybody can voluntarily offer whatever he wants to the Rajan. Rajan cannot force him. Okay, it is a totally voluntary offering, right? So this is the main source of income for the Rajan. Now, the basis of the political organization was the family. So family was the basis of the political organization. Family is called Kula or Griha. Now, it was a patriarchal society. We'll come to the society in some time. So who was the head of the Kula or family or Griha? The father. So he is called Kulapati. Kulapati or Grihapati. So family was the basis of the political organization, and family is called Kula or Griha, headed by the Kulapati or the Grihapati. A group of Kulas, a group of families will form a Gram, village. So you have a Gram or Grama, headed by a village headman called Gramani. So Gramani was the head of the village. Then a group of Gram will form a Vis under a Vispati. And a group of Vis will form a tribe or a Jana under a Rajan. So this is how the tribe was organized. Family, Kula or Griha under a Grihapati or a Kulapati. A group of Gram will form a village under a Gramani. A group of Gram will form a Vis under a Vispati, and a group of Vis will form a Jana or a tribe under the Rajan. Are you there with me? No, it was a patriarchal society, Sachin. Yeah. No, we'll move on. Kulapati or Grihapati, head of the family, father. Zeba, father was the head of the family. So he's called Kulapati or Grihapati, head of the family. Now, there were some tribal, I'll use another page. There were 4 tribal assemblies which curtailed the powers of the Rajan. Rajan was elected by the tribe, and there were 4 assemblies which used to control the powers of the Rajan or curtail the powers of the Rajan. So what are the 4 assemblies? Sabha. Second, Samiti. Third was Vidhatha. And the fourth is Gana. Sabha. What is Sabha? Council of Tribal Elders. Sabha was a council of tribal elders. Now, whenever the tribe had to face a common problem, let's say there's a water shortage, there's some disease in the tribe among the people, it is spreading rapidly, or some other tribe is planning to attack this tribe. So there is a common problem before the tribe. So what will happen? The Sabha will call a meeting. So all the tribal elders will come together for a meeting. And then the Rajan will also be part of this meeting. Okay. And then they will discuss the problem. How to solve this problem. This is the problem before the tribe. How to solve the problem. Please give your suggestions. So all the tribal elders, many of them will give their suggestions. Now, one suggestion given by a member of the Sabha is acceptable to most of the members. Okay, and the Rajan might have his own independent, opinion as to how the problem can be solved. But then, once the majority of the members of the Sabha agree to a particular solution, that would be binding on all the members of the tribe. And this majority decision is called Narishta. Narishta, resolution of many, which cannot be overruled. Did you understand what I'm saying? There's a common problem before the tribe, and solution is elicited. So people will give solutions as to how to solve the problem. The members of the Sabha will give solutions. And let's say out of the 10 people who made some suggestions, a person called A suggestion is acceptable to most members of the Sabha. That suggestion is binding upon the Rajan also. Rajan might have a different opinion, but majority decision is binding on the members of the Sabha. That's called Narishta, resolution of many which cannot be overruled. And women were given special representation in the Sabha. So women also participated in the deliberations of the Sabha, the meetings of the Sabha. This is number 1. Did you understand? Can I move on? Hello? Clear? Okay. Then we have Samiti. What is Samiti? It was the General Assembly of the tribe. Samiti was the General Assembly of the tribe. All the members of the tribe were automatically members of the Samiti. So it was the General Assembly of the tribe. All the members of the tribe were automatically members of the Samiti. What was the main duty of the Samiti? To elect the Rajan. So the Samiti used to elect the Rajan. Puja, sir, then it's not a patriarchal society. Why? Because women are given representation in the Sabha. No, women were given a lot of respect in the Vedic period, in the Rig Vedic period. Puja, we'll come to that. Hold on. It was very much a patriarchal society, but women were also given important positions in the society. So, Samiti, the main duty of the Samiti was to elect the Rajan. So, this year they might have elected a person called A, next year B, next year C, and fourth year the same person A. So, it's up to the Samiti to elect the Rajan. Then, third assembly, Vidata. This was the oldest of the assemblies. Among the 4 assemblies, this was the oldest. What was the main duty of the Vidata? Redistribution of war booty. one tribe will go to war against another tribe, and if the other tribe is defeated, they will loot everything and bring. So whatever is brought as a war booty is equally divided amongst the members of the tribe. That duty was that of the Vidata. And women were also given special representation in the Vidata. Gana was more of a cultural assembly. Very less reference is there about the Gana. More of a cultural assembly, organizing feasts, festivals, etc. So these are the four assemblies which curtailed the powers of the Rajan. Sabha, Council of Tribal Elders, and it took a decision, it took a majority decision, and that majority decision taken by the Sabha was binding on all members of the tribe, including that of the Rajan, including the Rajan. Women were given special representation in the Sabha. Samiti, General Assembly of the tribe, which used to elect the Rajan. Vidata, oldest of the four assemblies, main duty, redistribution of war booty. Women were also given special representation in the Vidata. And Gana was more of a cultural assembly, organizing feasts, festivals, etc. So women were given representation in the Sabha as well as Vidata, not in the other two assemblies. Right? Women were given representation in the Sabha and the Vidata. Now, the Aryans fought amongst themselves. The Aryans fought amongst themselves, and they also fought against non-Aryan tribes. So, which are the two most important Aryan tribes? Bharatas and Purus. These are the two most important Aryan tribes during the Rig Vedic period. Bharatas and Purus. So they were always fighting against each other, like India, Pakistan. So, uh, uh, so Aryans fought amongst themselves, and they also fought against non-Aryans. So who are the non-Aryans? The Sius, Dasa, Panis. So who are the Dasyus? Dasyus were the original inhabitants of the Sapta Sindhu region. Dasyus. The Dasyus were the original inhabitants of the Sapta Sindhu region. So when the Aryans came into the Sapta Sindhu region, there were already some people living there. Understand this, please. They were the original inhabitants of the Sapta Sindhu region. It might have been the remnants of the Harappans. The Harappans had abandoned that area and gone away, but some Harappans might have been living there. The Aryans fought against the Dasyus. Why did they fight? Because the Dasyus looked different from the Aryans. They were short in stature. They were not very tall. They were short in stature. They were dark-skinned. Right? And they had a snub nose, flat nose, and curly hair. So they were short in stature, dark-skinned. We have certain words in Sanskrit in the Rig Veda: Anasa, snub nose; Krishnatwach, dark-skinned. And they were phallus worshippers. They used to worship the phallus, the male sexual organ. So the Aryans looked down upon the Dasyus because they looked different from the Aryans. Aryans were tall, fair, with radiant complexion, blonde hair, etc. And the Dasyus looked different. So here, uh, um, since they were dark-skinned and they were looking different from the Aryans, they were looked down upon. This is another legacy left behind by the Aryans. Whether you agree or not, we Indians, most of us are racist. We have a fascination for the fair skin. Look at our advertisement, Fair and Lovely. Look at our heroes and heroines. Most of them are fair, though that is not their natural color. They're shown fair in the screen, right? And then it's preferred to have fair heroes and heroines, not the dark ones. Dark ones will be made the villain, or the dark girl. Even she's good looking. She'll be made the heroine's friend in the movie. She cannot be the main. She cannot play the main lead of a heroine as such. So even in teleserials are like that. Do you agree with me? Yeah. Yes, Sandeep, I'm sure you must be handsome, but I'm saying this fascination for fair skin, right? Yeah, no. Look at the matrimonial column, Sunday newspapers matrimonial column, wanted thin, slim, fair girl. So this is there in our country, whether you agree or not. Okay, gori gori ka pan, fula jaisi chan, like that. Like that, right? Fair, a fascination for fair skin. So the Aryans, they looked down upon the Dasyus for the way they looked. Dasas, these are the earlier branch of Aryans. Earlier branch of Aryans. Earlier branch of Aryans. So you see, some Aryans were living in the Sapta Sindhu region, right? And I told you that the Aryans came in phases. They came in they did not come en masse into the Sapta Sindhu region. They came in phases. So let us say 20 years back or 10 years back, a group of Aryans have settled themselves in the Sapta Sindhu region, and they see another group of Aryans slowly approaching the Sapta Sindhu region. So these people will object the new arrivals. These new people are coming? Because they have to share the limited resources of that area. So the Aryans fought against the Dasas, earlier branch of Aryans. And they also fought against Panis. They were supposedly non-Aryan and cattle lifters. They used to lift cattle. That is, they were cattle thieves. Cattle thieves. So the Aryans fought amongst themselves. For example, the Bharatas and the Purus were the two main Aryan tribes. And the Aryans also fought against non-Aryans like Dasyus, Dasas, and Panis. Now, we have a battle mentioned in the Rig Veda called Dasaragna. This is the most important battle mentioned in Mandala 7 of the Rig Veda. Mandala 7. What is this Mandala? Mandala means book. And the name of the battle is Dasaragnya. Dasaragnya. When you make that symbol on top of N, it becomes Nya. Okay, Dasaragnya. What is Dasaragnya? Battle of 10 kings. Battle of 10 kings. Now let me explain this. This is mentioned in Mandala 7 or Book 7 of the Rig Veda. So the story goes like this. Here we have a tribal chief. His name was Bharatas. His name was Sudas. So the name of the tribe is Bharata tribe. And the head of the Bharata tribe was a person called Sudas. Sudas was a Rajan. Okay, he was a Rajan of the Bharata tribe. And Sudas had a Purohit, his religious preceptor, religious guru. His name was Vishwamitra. So Sudas's guru was Vishwamitra. Dasaragnya. Okay, no, it's not Dasarajan. I know Subhankar, Dasaragnya. No, look here. So there was a tribal chief called Sudas of the Bharata tribe. He had a Purohit called Vishwamitra. Now, Vishwamitra had served Sudas for quite a long period of time. But then Sudas came to know about another Purohit called Vashishta, who was more qualified than Vishwamitra. So Vashishta, he came to know about Vashishta. Something like Vishwamitra was MBBS and Vashishta is MD. So what Sudas did is, he dismissed Vishwamitra. And appointed Vashishta as his new Purohit. So Vishwamitra became very, very angry with Sudas, I believe. So what did Vishwamitra do? He went and filled up the ears of 10 kings against Sudas. So he went and filled up the ears of 10 kings against Sudas, and he formed a confederacy of 10 kings. So he brought 10 kings together. Okay, so 10 kings were brought together by Vishwamitra because Vishwamitra wanted revenge against Sudas. So 10 kings were brought together by Vishwamitra. And who was made the leader of these 10 kings? Purukutsa, a person called Purukutsa, belonging to the Puru tribe. He belonged to the Puru tribe. So Purukutsa was made the leader of this confederacy of 10 kings. and war was declared against Sudas. This is called the Battle of Ten Kings. Did you get me? Battle of Ten Kings. So the battle took place between Sudas versus 10 kings, led by Purukutsa. This battle is supposed to have taken place on the banks of the river Purushni, that is Ravi. Now, what was the result of the battle? Sudas single-handedly was able to defeat all the 10 kings. So Sudas was able to gain a victory over all the 10 kings, right? This is how the battle ended. So what was the immediate reason for the battle of 10 kings? Dismissal of Vishwamitra and appointment of Vashishta. Dismissal of Vishwamitra and appointment of Vashishta. This was the immediate reason. The second reason is the cattle, fight for cattle wealth. And third is sharing of the waters of the river Ravi, sharing of the waters of the river Purushni or Ravi. So these are the three reasons for the Battle of 10 Kings. Did you get me? This is Battle of 10 Kings. Now let me go to the PPT and quickly refresh your memory as regards what I have discussed. The polity you can see on your screen. So that administration was tribal in nature. So if we have democratic principles in a tribal polity because the Rajan was elected by the tribe. He was generally a leader, or he was an elderly person called Pramukha or Jeshta, but the leader took the title of Rajan. So the tribal chief was called Rajan. His duty was to protect the tribe and its cattle wealth. He waged wars to protect the cattle, right? Then he prayed to gods for dhana, that is wealth, praja, mainly sons, and pashu, cattle. He took steps to improve pasture lands. Bureaucracy was very simple during this period. Purohita, priest, senapati, commander, Rajapati in charge of pasture lands. Gramani was the head of a gram. Purapati was in charge of mud forts. Jivagriba was the police head. Spasa was the spy. Duta was the messenger. There was no taxation system during this period. The main source of income for the Rajan was Bali, voluntary offering, and then war booty, right? Then we have family being the basis of the political organization called Kula or Griha under a Kulapati or a Grihapati. A group of Kulas will form a Gram under a Gramani. A group of Gram will form a Vis under a Vispati. And a group of Vis will form a Jana or a tribe under the Rajan. There's no reference to the Janapada. What is Janapada? Territory. There's no reference to the Janapada or territory because this was a later Vedic concept. The Aryans were pastoralists going from one place to another place. So they were not living in one territory. So the concept of a territory or a Janapada doesn't arise. The Rajan's powers were curtailed by tribal assemblies. There were 4 assemblies, tribal assemblies, Sabha, so council of tribal elders. Special representation was given to women, and it took a majority decision called Narishta, which was binding upon the entire tribe. Samiti, General Assembly of the tribe, main duty was to elect the Rajan. Vidata, most important assembly of all the 4, main duty, redistribution of war booty, and women were also given special representation. And Gana was, less information is there about this. It was more of a religious and cultural assembly organizing feasts, festivals, etc. So, 2 main Aryan tribes during this period, the Bharata tribe and the Puru tribe, always fighting against each other. And they dominate the region of present-day Haryana and western Uttar Pradesh. So the Aryans fought amongst themselves, like the Bharatas and the Purus, fighting against each other. And we have also the Aryans fighting against non-Aryan tribes, like, for example, the Sioux. The Sioux are the original inhabitants of the Sapta Sindhu region. Dasas, they were the earlier branch of Aryans. And Panis, they were non-Aryan, non-sacrificial, and cattle lifters, right? The most important battle mentioned in the Rig Veda is the Dasaragnya, Battle of 10 Kings, mentioned in Mandala 7 or Book 7 of the Rig Veda. This was fought between the Bharata chief Sudas against a confederacy of 10 kings led by Purukutsa of the Puru tribe. This was fought on the banks of the river Ravi or Purushni, and in this battle, Sudas emerged victorious. So causes of the battle, immediate reason is this: dispute between the Purohitas, dismissal of Vishwamitra, and appointment of Vashishta. We have also conflict over the sharing of the waters of the river Ravi and cattle. This is Rig Vedic polity. Am I there with you? No, these are exclusively prelims topics. UPSC has asked a few questions from this Vedic period. We'll talk about it later. But please understand, Jyoti Subramaniam, I am not, please don't approach history where you study ancient India, medieval India, modern India, art and culture. We have so many segments. So you try to understand the whole of Indian history and culture. So you can relate this knowledge with other aspects, other areas of our society, religion, etc. So it is an all-encompassing approach you should have. So don't try to compartmentalize your preparation. Yeah, yeah, yes. Zeba, was Rajan part of the Samiti? Samiti was the tribal assembly which elected the Rajan. Okay, so all members of the tribe will elect the Rajan. Okay, so that's how it was. So he's also part of the tribe, the Rajan. So the tribal assembly, it was the general assembly of the tribe which elected the Rajan. Okay, now I think, yeah, let me, with whatever time I have, let me start with society, the Rig Vedic society. So here, look here on your screen. Rig Vedic society. Now, how was the society like? The society was, it was a patriarchal society. First of all, it was a patriarchal society. Father was the head of the house, and it was a patriarchal society. Number one. Number two is, it was a tribal and egalitarian society. It was tribal and egalitarian. What's the meaning of egalitarian? Everybody was equal in the tribe. The concept of caste had not come into existence. Since the concept of caste had not come into existence, it is considered to be an egalitarian society. So it was tribal society as well as egalitarian society. It was a class divided society. It was a class divided society wherein there was professional mobility. There was professional mobility. And we hear of three varnas. Brahmana. So there were basically three varnas. So on the basis of occupation, society was divided into three varnas. Brahmana. Brahmana. So what was a Brahmana? He was a priest and a teacher. So he did the duty of a priest or a teacher. Then we have a Rajanya, sometimes also called Kshatriya, but in the Rig Veda, it is mentioned as Rajanya. So you have a Rajanya or a Kshatriya. He was a warrior. He was a warrior. And then we have a Vish. Vish were commoners. Commoners like agriculturists, artisans, etc. There's only one reference to the Shudra. Shudra is mentioned only one time, and that too towards the end of the Rig Vedic period. End of Rig Vedic period, we have a solitary reference to the Shudra. Now, what is the meaning of professional mobility? Here, please understand, a person can wear different hats in one lifetime. That is, you could choose the profession of your choice, and all professions were considered to be equal. Now, later the concept came where the Brahmana was the top in the society, then came the Kshatriya, then the Vaishya and the Shudra. This was not there in the Rigvedic period. All occupations were considered to be equal, and a person can choose any occupation of his choice in his lifetime. Right? For example, let us say there's a person called A, and he has been a priest. He began his career as a priest. Okay. He began his career as a priest. Then after being a priest for 10 years, he got bored up with his job. He wants some action. So he starts doing the job of a warrior. So he learns some sword fighting, etc. And he starts doing the job of a warrior. Right? And after some years, let us say he wants to do agriculture. So he can do agriculture. And in his old age, again, he can become a priest or a teacher. So he can wear different hats in one lifetime. In other words, he can do any occupation of his choice in one lifetime. because all occupations were considered to be equal. Are you there with me? Right? So everybody, Purva, how can a patriarchal society be egalitarian? So everybody in the tribe was equal, Purva. The concept of caste had not come into existence. Males were given prominence, okay, because of the type of society, economy they had. They were pastoralists going from one place to another place. So because of that reason, it was more importance was given to a male in order to give protection to the tribe as such. Right now, look here. So um, here, this is one thing, right? So anybody could choose the occupation of his choice. Now, uh, there was interdining amongst the occupations. There was concept of interdining amongst the varnas, intermarriages amongst the varnas, interdining. That is, Brahmana can go to the house of a Rajanya or a Vish and have food. A Vish can go to the house of a Brahmin and have food, etc. So you have interdining amongst the Varnas, intermarriages amongst the Varnas. Brahmana can marry a Kshatriya or a Vish. Vish can marry a Brahmana or a Kshatriya, and so on and so forth. So there was interdining, intermarriages amongst the Varnas. Monogamy was the norm. Monogamy was a norm, that is, one man having one wife. But we also have examples of polygamy and polyandry. Now, please understand, these are all derived from the Rig Veda. We historians have derived from all this information from the Rig Veda, because there are references in the Rig Veda about all these things. So this is derived from the Rig Veda. So monogamy was a norm, but we also have examples of polygamy, one man having more than one wife. Polyandry, one female having more than one husband. So that was also there. Now, the minimum marriageable age for a girl was 16 years after puberty. Minimum marriageable age for a girl was 16 years after puberty, after maturity. And there were also girls who could opt not to get married. So the girl doesn't want to get married, she wants to study. So she was allowed to study because she doesn't want to get married. It was her free will. Okay. So a girl could get married only after 16 years, after her puberty or maturity. Now, slavery existed, but slaves were treated in a humane manner. They were treated in a humane manner. And we have a practice called levirate. Levirate, or what is known as niyoga. I'll explain that tomorrow. So this is Rig Vedic society. Pretty much I've explained. So it was divided to four. It was divided to three varnas. There was professional mobility. All occupations were considered to be equal. Monogamy was the norm. You also have interdining, intermarriages amongst the varnas. Education was given to girls on par with males. The minimum marriageable age of a girl was 16 years after puberty. And we have something called levirate. I'll explain that tomorrow. This is about the Vedic geographical knowledge of the Aryans, the political structure of the Vedic Aryans, and the society. Tomorrow I'll complete economy and religion of the Rig Vedic Aryans and finish with later Vedic period. And then we can go to the next chapter, that is pre-Maurya period. So I have run out of time, I suppose. Any doubts? Slaves at Roshan, slavery in a humane manner. That is, in ancient Greece, slaves were treated in a they were ill-treated. They were treated in a very bad manner, tortured, etc. But in India, slaves were given boarding and lodging facilities in a very humane manner. They were treated. So that's why it was not like the way the Greeks used to treat their slaves. That's why it's called humane manner. Buddhism and Jainism, I'll be covering that as part of art and culture. Sham. Ramayana, Mahabharata, these are the epics, right? Epic period. That's also part of later Vedic period. We get a lot of information about the later Vedic period from the epics also, like Ramayana, Mahabharata. Yeah, Vish was different from the Vispati, right? That is correct. Which were the commoners, which were the commoners, whereas in the hierarchy, in the political hierarchy, we have the Kula or the Grihapati, then we have the Gramani, then the Vispati, who was the head of this unit called Vis, okay, and then came the Jana or the tribe. So Vishpati is different from Vish. Manusmriti is one of the ancient law written by Manu, right? Manav Dharma Shastra or Manusmriti. So we have so many law books of ancient India: Yagnavalka Smriti, Narada Smriti, Brihaspati Smriti, etc. So Manusmriti is written by Manu. So this is again one of the sources for the study of later Vedic period. The Dharma Shastras also give information about society, economy, etc. of the later Vedic period. So you have a great day, and we'll meet tomorrow at the same time. We'll complete Vedic period, and hopefully I should be able to go to the next chapter, pre-Maurya period. Can we find all this in Vedas? No, Shubhankar, I said we had the society was divided into three varnas. There's only one reference to the Shudra varna. Now, on the basis of occupation, society was divided into three varnas, and anybody could choose the occupation of his choice. So I can be, for example, I can do the job of a Brahmana, that is a priest or a teacher. Then later in my life, I can do the job of a Kshatriya, that is a warrior. Then I can be an agriculturist or an artisan later, and again come back and do the job of a Brahmana, because all professions were considered to be equal. So therefore, egalitarian concept of caste was not there. It was basically based on professions or occupations. It was an occupationally divided society, not caste-based society. Did you get me, Shubhankar? Panprit, patriarchal and egalitarian is everybody was equal in the society in terms of caste. There was no concept of caste here. So everybody was equal. It was a tribal society. So in a tribe, there is there's no economic stratification. Everybody is equal, right? In that sense, egalitarian. Patriarchal because the father of the male was given more importance than the female. Female's position was also very, very good compared to the later period. Later when we discuss later Vedic period, we will come to know. But then the female's position was almost on par with that of males. So in that sense, patriarchal society, because they were pastoralists, more initiative and power was there with the males as such, to protect the tribe, to protect the women and the children, to fight wars. It was all done by the males. Therefore, it was a patriarchal society. Leverate, I'll come to the leverate. Roshan, I'll do it. I'll talk about leverate tomorrow when I do the class. Okay. So this is about the class. We'll meet tomorrow. You take care. Okay.